Today's episode, oh man, you guys know me. I love travel. I love travel. I love travel. I love travel. Today's episode is business travel on a budget. This matters for so many different reasons for us as solopreneurs, as side hustlers, as non-traditional entrepreneurs, as I am. When I did my two startups while I was stay-at-home dad with my partner and I's first son. He was from when he was around 4 months old to selling my second startup when he had turned 2 years old. He just turned 11. So, I've been been in the game for a little while. Most of the time afterwards has been, of course, spending time with my family and supporting y'all. When you're in those positions as a non-traditional entrepreneur, you usually have limited resources. I talk about this in Build From Now. It seems to be the theme of the day, where you're limited on your time, you're limited on your energy. I'm middle-aged, might see some of the gray hairs here. Or, what we talk about the most is you're limited on your finances. But you still want to have a touch point with the people that you're trying to serve. When my two co-founders and I started Cuddler, which is the biggest startup I was a part of, we bootstrapped it. At our peak, we had about 250,000 or so users. I was still emailing and connecting with people every day. That was my main role, was co-founder as far as the marketing, getting out there, as well as with I guess you'd call it the community management, we call it nowadays. And I still have a little bit of light carpal tunnel because of those days, even though that was almost 10 years ago. My point is that we're able to have that growth partially because I did create that intimacy with Cuddler, which was an app that connected people for hugs. So if you're going to have a Tinder or a Grindr kind of app, but a platonic version of it, and it's connecting people for hugs, then are you going to have a chat bot, which was just coming into vogue at the time? You're going to have a chat bot do it? No, you're going to do it yourself. My whole point is that we need to find ways to create that intimacy because we're solopreneurs, because we're side hustling. But our resources might be limited as far as how we can actually connect with people and do that work. Some of those limitations are based, in my case, on travel. Like, okay, you got two little kids at home. I had a second son. So you got two little kids at home. How are you going to travel? Okay, well, there's a mortgage to be paid. And, your startup isn't making money yet. So how are you going to afford that trip, to go see a venture capitalist or to go to this conference that's still focused on that? So this is a really important episode to me because if you're struggling with that and you're dealing with that, I've been in your shoes, because you want to create that non-scalable experience, as they call it, those things that can't scale, that create that intimacy, right? That one-on-one conversation, that flight to see that one client, those kind of things. But oftentimes it's coming out of our pocket or coming out of our business budget. We're going to talk about 3 efficient ways that you can actually do the business travel to create that intimacy without breaking the bank. And today's episode is sponsored by Navin Travel, the ultimate manager of your business travel. Thank you so much for the support. I just talked with them earlier this week. Loved the conversation. I was like, I gotta share it with my people here. So that's how they came aboard. It's all about travel today. Let's go and take a quick look at Navin and see what they're doing, because they are doing some fascinating stuff over there. And the best thing I can do is show you. So we're gonna go ahead and, we're gonna do it live. There it is. Hopefully you guys can see it. All right, looking good. All right. Feel like Matthew McConaughey today. All right, so it looks very basic right here, right? You're like, oh, okay, it's kind of a, basic third party, but it's deeper than that. The first thing you know about Navin is that it's actually free. There's no cost to you. So it's completely free to use, which again goes back to being mindful of the budget. It's like, yeah, let's be thoughtful about that. The second thing it does is that it actually organizes all your information. So from the group travel things, if you're traveling with your family, or even if you're traveling with your co-founders. So with my co-founders and I, back when I did Cuddler, we traveled together. We went together. Last trips we did was visit WWDC, which is a big developers conference for Apple. It was even bigger than it is today. It was really big at the time. So we met up in San Francisco, hung out there. It was actually a really good time. And that was a few months before we sold the company. So it was a great experience to meet in person. I wish something like this existed, because we did have a certain budget and we were trying to get organized in a certain way. It organizes all your stuff for you. And so you have your company account, you go ahead and do the basic thing. Las Vegas, which is where I'm based, already have a loyalty program here. You guys know I'm hardcore Delta, so Delta's already in here. They got all the programs, and so they will organize that for you. Now, we're going to get into that a little bit later on in the show as far as, did you know that your company actually can have a frequent flyers program as well? That goes, I believe, for hotels as well, but definitely for airlines. We're going to talk about that in a few minutes, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, it keeps all that in order. As you can see, your flights, let's say I'm trying to go to Dubai. There you go. Never been there before, but, hint, hint, look forward to going there in the future. Flights, hotels, trains, love trains, as well as rental cars, right? So you got the basics covered there. The thing you need to know about Navin is that they actually started as very, very corporate, big B2B, business to business. So we're talking the major companies, you name a major startup. And they probably have been working with Navin for years. A well-funded company, they've been working with the big guys for a little while. The shift happened where a few months ago, I want to say about 6 to 9 months ago, from talking to them, suddenly they're like, well, let's go ahead and give this to the side hustlers, the solopreneurs, the small and medium-sized businesses. How can we give them these same powerful tools? So you're having the same stuff that the big guys have. So it's organizing all your info from passports. It's actually logged to my account, so I'm not going to show you that part because you don't need my passport info. That's why I'm being a little bit coy with it. But you see I'm logged in. So the passport information, your loyalty programs, all those other things. It actually connects to the different rewards programs. If you click to that, it actually connects to the different rewards programs. Again, we'll click on this again. That's my Sky Miles number. If you guys want to give me points, go for it. That's my Bond Boy number too. Hey, feel free to use my number. But it'll automatically organize that. So with a lot of third-party organizers or platforms, then they'll go ahead and say, okay, you can do it through us, but then you're going to have to work it out with, with Delta, with Marriott, with whomever, and set that up. You're just going to have to work it out with them. There's often a gap. Again, I'm not going to name names, but I've been in situations where I haven't gotten the points I'm supposed to get. Number one, they're connected directly to the place they get the points. I'm the points guy, not Brian Kelly. Shout out to him. Hope you're doing well. But I am a points guy where I'm really into the points. So those points are being pushed over, as well as, which I'll get into later on in the episode, the business points that you're getting for your business. Those are being transferred over. And so this is the same as booking directly through them, except of course it's highly organized. What I really like about this though, this is what takes it over the top. Because yeah, Damon, okay, there's a lot of great details. It's aggregate, yeah. What I love about this is, we'll get to the group travel. You can actually set parameters, whether it's you, if you're the founder, if you're a co-founder and you're handling the budget, if you're a CEO, and you have people who work with you, such as an executive assistant or other folks and you're all going to be traveling at the same time. You can actually set parameters to what travel is being done. So you can go and say, okay, we're going to go to Sheboygan. I think that's in Wisconsin. We're going to go to Sheboygan and we're going to hang out there. All right, bet. Alice, go ahead and do that. Go ahead and book your flight, whatever works best for your schedule. And Dwayne, go and book your flight as long as we go here and we're going to be staying at this hotel. You can put these parameters into Navin Travel and say, okay, when Alice is booking your trip, they can do anything as long as it's not over $500, because it shouldn't cost $500 to fly to Sheboygan. Or that's our budget. Then using AI as well as other parameters are able to work within that. In other words, it gives you the space to go ahead and say, I'm going to set up these parameters. Whoever is working for my company, even if it's my co-founders, whatever, they can do it themselves and work within that. So personally, I do a lot of public speaking. I've spoken at the different TED conferences and other things. And whenever I get a speaking gig, I learned early on, I want them to go ahead and give me money for the travel or to bake it into whatever my pay is. And then I'll go and book it myself. Now, I'm a travel nerd. So of course, I want to book it myself. But it's also a matter of booking it myself because particularly when I really got serious about public speaking, I'm pointing over there because these little kids were here. And I'm a stay-at-home dad, so it might be me doing a red eye to get to Bogota. Shout out to Bogota to do a speech down there, and then I fly back that evening and do the long flight. So my crazy schedule, particularly at that time, a lot older now, it was a lot easier when I was flexible with it. It provides you with that. So it's one less thing you need to handle. It's free. If you use my link below, go in there. I talk to them. It's free to y'all. So have a blast and use that as your travel hub and have lots of fun with it. Thanks so much for them for sponsoring the show. And hopefully that'll give you some good insight. So shout out to Navin. Again, all the links are below. Feel free to subscribe and to check out Navin at this point too. All right. I love when technology works. All right. So the first step, if you're trying to get on a budget with your travel, you still need to go places, is to create a business account. I hinted at this earlier in the episode. Excuse me. This is a really key thing. There's two different frequent flyer accounts that you have. And we're going to focus on airlines. There's the frequent flyer number, which you saw my frequent flyer number. So the frequent flyer number, where it's just like, it's not like a social security number. It's not a secret thing. Again, I just showed mine earlier in the episode. But you put that in when you book a ticket. And then when you fulfill that particular flight, then you get the points for it. That frequent flyer number is tied to your status. So when I had elite status earlier on Delta, or way back in the day when I had executive platinum, I think that's what it was called, on American Airlines, then they actually will show you certain seats that aren't available to people that don't have status, et cetera, et cetera. You might be able to have a little bit of a heavier bag. You might get a drink free when you're on the plane. All those different perks, you're probably familiar with those. What you might not know is that there's a whole separate program for all the major carriers, the big three, as well as, I'm thinking of the Kendrick lyric. It's like, not the big three, it's the big me. But there are three big ones that have this, but so do some of the smaller ones. I believe Alaska has them. I don't think Southwest does, but I have some relatives that fly Southwest a lot. They probably have a business version of that. But it's available to us. Not just, again, similar to Navin, the sponsor of this episode, it's available to us. Like, so you don't have to be this big corporation. You can be just a few degrees higher than a solopreneur and have other people flying for you that are part of your business, your assistants, whatever. And then you can go ahead and sign up for this. The three different ones for the big three are Delta, which is, my one right now. Again, all the travel episodes, I'm always talking about Delta. I love them as a carrier, and I think they're fantastic. I've been on Delta Business for quite a while. Yeah, but they have Delta Business. There's United Business, and there's American Airlines, of course. American Business, not American Business, not the country, but the airline. What's great about these is, and all the links are below if you missed it, are two different things. First of all, you're able to set up this whole different frequent flyer program based on your business flights. So if I'm flying and I happen to buy tickets for my partner and my kids and all that stuff, then it's like, yeah, I might have a credit card and might get points from that. But other than that, I'm just getting points for whatever my thing is, right? So whatever Damon Brown is flying on, that's what I get points for in the traditional thing. With the business program, you actually get points for when you and or other people within your organization, people that are working with you or for you, are actually flying. Those perks, they get individual perks, that's the opportunity, but you're also getting perks because you are the business owner, you are the one in charge. If you happen to have a big enough business where you have a travel manager, or that kind of thing, someone who organizes that stuff, that would be their role. But there's a certain amount of points that come back to the organization. The second thing is that those points aren't just, okay, I get a certain amount and I can get a free ticket to Dubai or whatever. Dubai seems to be the theme today. But it's not just that. It's also these other perks that don't cost as many of these particular business points. So it could be a drink coupon. It could be an upgrade from main cabin to Comfort Plus, which is, of course, the Delta version of it. But kind of that space between coach and first class, it might be X amount of business points. And then you're able to upgrade them. Doesn't cost you anything. There's no fees. Done. And in fact, that's number 3. All these programs are free. So you can join them like right now. The requirements for them are all different. Some of them, and they're always changing, some of them require you to have at least 3 or so other people that are flying with you to be considered a business. And it could be your assistant, it could be someone that helps you with your business. It doesn't have to be strictly an employee, but someone that's involved with your business. You also sometimes need to verify that you actually have a business, whether that's a EIN number or giving your website or whatever, but it's relatively smooth. Even when I had a smaller business than I have today, I was able to join these programs. It's absolutely worthwhile. And you can actually add this business number, which again, it's a separate number. You can add this business frequent flyer number to your regular flights, to your business flights. And so you're getting your regular frequent flyer points, and you're getting your business frequent flyer points, and it doesn't cost anything extra. So take advantage of that. If you're going to be flying all around the country and you're going to be doing all this stuff, in my case, back in the day, flying all around the world to different places, if you're going to do that, you might as well maximize your miles. Again, shout out to Brian Kelly again over at the Points Guy. But it's a way, as they used to say, of double dipping. You're taking one flight, but you're getting the equivalent of twice as many points for it, twice as many miles. And as I think it was last year where I did a little bit more traveling, because with us sheltering in place, I'm just starting to get back into traveling. I think it was last year where my business points like really added up. And I wasn't even checking on them. I'm like, oh, okay. And I was able to use those for different things for my business. So it really comes in handy. That would be my first number 1 tip. Do it right now. Do it right now. All the links are below. If there's one like Alaska or Southwest, or I think JetBlue might have one, just go to their website and see if they have it. I couldn't list all of them here, but majority of the major ones have it, and definitely the big 3 have it as well. We are talking about business travel on a budget. How are you budgeting your business travel? How are you maximizing your points? And have you set up a business account already? Have you set up a business account with the airlines? I think some of the hotels have it as well. I'd love to hear your comments. I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown. You're watching Bring Your Worth. I come to you every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You subscribe for free and on all the platforms, either the link below or follow, check in, whatever they're calling nowadays. I spend so little time on social media compared to other things that they keep changing names. I'm like, I don't know, but you know what button to hit, and then you'll be seeing this mug, once or twice a week as we go forward. So number 1, you want to go ahead and create a business account. Please do that. Let me know if you've already done that, and give me some game. Maybe there's some insight that you have that I don't have. Love to hear more about that. Second thing is do the insurance. This is an important thing. Do the insurance. It's become a little bit more commonplace now, but even back in the day, when you do a hotel, or particularly when you do an airline purchase and you're going overseas, they have that option to say, all right, are you going to insure this? And it usually, I should have looked up the percentage. Maybe if you know, you can tell me in the chat. But it usually ends up being a percentage of how much the flight costs. So it might be 1% of the flight. I don't know, maybe a little bit more, 2% of the flight. So if you have a $1,000 flight that you're doing, then it might cost you $20. It's usually not that expensive. When you do that, you're able to go ahead and say, all right, this happened. I need to get out of this. I've recently had a funeral in the family. We're doing okay, but everybody's been pretty sad about it. That happened to hit when we were traveling. So that forethought to say, do the insurance, that's for situations like that. So instead of giving a call to the hotel or the airline, whatever, and saying, hey, we had a death in the family, the funerals happened on this day, we can't make it on there, but you can just skip all that rigmarole. Instead, you go ahead and send information to Alliance with a Z is one of them that's really popular. You'll see that in the airlines. There's some other ones, but again, they're easy to find because they've actually collaborated with these travel companies to actually allow the insurance. So yes, you might have got an excellent deal on your flight or your hotel, and you're like, I want to pay exactly $500. And if I go ahead and get this insurance, it's going to be $510. I don't feel good about that. I can get like that sometimes. I understand. You got my sympathy. I hear you. But then that $10 doesn't, that's not, you know, as painful as being in a situation where you have to take this trip, or you're not able to say goodbye to a loved one or whatever because you can't change the situation, or you just lose a ton of money because you decide not to go. So take advantage of that. It's worth the money. Again, it's a lot easier than it was back in the day where you have to like get the travel insurance separately. And it's like, oh my gosh, like who wants to go through that? I've been through that a few times, and just do it. A good opportunity that we have is a new place called Safety Wing Nomad Insurance. Yeah, it sounds like my kind of thing, right? If you're familiar with my work, since we all tend to be on our own, and I'm definitely in the solopreneur camp. Shout out to Safety Wing. They have two different sets of insurance. Insurance for nomads. I think a lot of my 20s and 30s, I was a nomad, so I moved so much and all those things. So that would fit me. Not so much now. I'm pretty, I'm not going anywhere like that. Vegas is going to be home for a little while, that kind of thing. So for nomads, so if you're traveling a lot, particularly if you're traveling outside of the country, they will hook you up with that. Then, which ties into the bigger business thing, depends on the size of your business. I've been a solopreneur for a while. So the nomad insurance makes sense. But if you have people, and some of y'all that I coach, you got people, right? Let me get my people. Let me talk to this person. I need this person to be there because they do this role. You're of another scale. They got you covered. Insurance for remote teams. And so that fits the current lifestyle. That's why I wanted to highlight this today, because it fits the current lifestyle that we have today. Both of them are fantastic. One, as it says, is for individuals and families. So again, I got little ones. We're not as little as they used to be, but I'm covered in insurance now. But if I needed to, then they'll be the hookup. And of course, remote teams for companies. So they have different products, different situations here. And then you get more details as far as how they work, where they work. What I like about them, and that's actually the bird thing, just cracks me up. Having your home country on the internet. What I love about this discussion is basically saying, okay, you can be in Morocco, you can be in Colombia, you can be in Japan, all places that I've been. And some of those times I've been in those places, I wasn't covered like that. Blue Cross Blue Shield wasn't trying to hook me up in Bogota. You know what I'm saying? And I know friends, people I care about, who got sick overseas. Luckily, I was not one of them. You hear me knocking on wood, for real. So it's better, again, to get the insurance, get the coverage, especially we are all getting older. So I'm not as healthy as I was in the past. I don't spring back as much because I'm middle-aged. A lot of us, and in fact, a lot of y'all that are watching are going into that phase too, right? Where it's not just, flying overseas, staying in a hostel for 7 days, which I've done before. Some of y'all have done too. Some of y'all that I've coached have had that lifestyle. But as you start to phase out of that, as you start to have little kids, or maybe you have older parents you need to take care of, maybe you have a team and you got people to take care of. This is a really smart way to do it without you having to, to go into the open health insurance marketplace here in America and then hope that they cover you when you're hanging out in Osaka. This is a great way to do it. So shout out to Safety Wing. Really fascinating stuff that they're doing over there, for sure. If you want more insight into how you can travel without needing insurance at all, and you might be in a position where you're like, yeah, Damon, I'm traveled out, I'm not going anywhere. No. Here are ways you could travel without leaving home. I think it's a really important discussion. Some of y'all that I support, either y'all are viewers or I have one-on-one coaching with y'all. You can learn more about my coaching practice at damonbrown.net if you're interested. You might not physically be able to travel because of a chronic illness, or, we talk about spoons culture, right? How many spoons do you have today? Like, how much energy do you have today? You might not be able to travel in this season. You might be like, no, I need to rest. Wonderful people that I know. Shout out to Ellie Cole, who's supporting the sickle cell community. I've learned so much about them over the last few months. Shout out to her. But so many people within my network are dealing with or are connected to people who are dealing with those types of things. It might be a thing where you got little kids at home, as I was for the first couple of years of our first son's life. And it's like, maybe you're not traveling like that. This is a great way to travel without leaving home. Check it out. If you are going to be on the road, Smart Holiday Travel 2024. Don't be fooled by the title of it. It happened to come out during the holidays. I want to say it came out in the holidays here in the United States. I want to say December, which feels like every religion has some type of ceremony in December, including my Hindi in-laws and my fam over there. But it fits that motif. But all things that I talk about apply to everything, including business travel. Be sure and check it out. Check out the vibe there. And you're probably like, Damon, you live in Las Vegas. Why are you wearing a beret and a winter coat? You look like a Parisian hanging out in Iceland. That's because of the topic of this show, Smart Holiday Travel this year, 2023. I'm going to take this off because some of you are listening to this, and I know my Michigan style jacket. Actually, I got this jacket in Canada. I'm not going to lie. It's got me sweating over here. It's used to hanging out with elks and stuff. We put this over here. Sorry for y'all that are listening because it's super loud. I always forget that. I had my teenage years in Michigan, even though I'm from Jersey. And so I'm used to that sound. And then people that aren't from there are like, what is that sound? We're going to talk about traveling. If you've been watching the show at all, if you know me personally, even if you coach with me, even if you've read my books, any degree that you're connected to me, my work, me personally, you know I love to travel. There's so many things that we can gain from traveling. A lot of those things got put on the back burner, obviously a few years ago with the pandemic, respectfully so. But there are certain precautions, certain decisions, certain ways we can move where if we're ready to get on the road again, we can be smart about it. And also if we're not ready to get on the road again, there's ways, technology and other things that I will point out to you right here that will actually allow you to travel virtually and get that experience. I took myself to Japan on one of my earliest birthdays. It was fantastic. Early adulthood, not as a kid, early adulthood trips. It was fantastic. My wife and I had our honeymoon in Morocco. Shout out to the beautiful people at Morocco. I hope y'all get through what you're getting through. There's so many things that can be gained from traveling, culturally, psychologically, even as far as me personally and my family as people of color, for us to be able to see environments that are different. It's so important because if you just stay on your block, if you stay in your city, even if you just stay in your state, you're not going to understand the rest of the world. You need to be out there and see what's happening. And shout out to y'all that are giving me a shout on Amazon as well. I'll go and leave a message as well. Unfortunately, I can't do that with the platform right here, but I'll be sure to say hi before the platform is up. So shout out to J-Lo. It might be the J-Lo. Hey, what's going on, Jennifer? Hope y'all are doing well. Listen, we're going to get into how you can travel wisely, how you can save money and watch money while you're traveling, and also the tools and technology that will allow you to be strategic with your travel. Here in the States, again, it's Q4. That means next month, well, at the end of the month, it's Halloween, which is essentially a holiday for my boys. But y'all that are more spiritual, it also means other things, right? November, we have Thanksgiving here in the States. And of course, December, nearly every culture we have here in America is celebrating something. And so this is going to be that first wave of people planning. If you're planning on doing something in Q4, something by the end of the year, now is the time to plan. Let's get into the technology. First recommendation is Google Flights. I'm going to be honest, I often forget about Google Flights. Like I forget it exists. And there we go. Best way to plan my travel. I often forget that Google Flights exists. I think because when I first heard about Google Flights, it might have been like 10 years ago. It might have been longer because I lived in San Francisco about 15 years ago. And it might have been around that time or shortly after that time. And it was that thing of saying, it's all right, but I got Travelocity. I'm not a big fan, but it works. Travelocity, I got a kayak, whatever. I'm not big on going and booking through the aggregates. They call them aggregates. And so it's like gathering all the stuff and putting it into one place. I'm not big on the aggregates because I've had issues, particularly early on. Like I've been traveling again for a long time and I'm used to booking through a travel agent or going through the airline directly. And then when the aggregates came, because I was traveling before the aggregates came about 20 years ago. When the aggregates came, I started using some of them. and then I wanted to change a flight, or flights would get canceled or they would get changed, and the aggregate wouldn't tell me. Like, it was just that it's almost like the degree of communication. And it's like you got a couple of degrees in there, and it's like it starts to get foggy. My whole point is that with Google Flights, I kind of shunned them because I'm like, I don't want another aggregate. And particularly at the time, Google was like hella monopoly. They've calmed down a little bit now. Shout out to YouTube. But they've calmed down a little bit now. But at that time, think about 10, 15 years ago, Google was everything, right? I was like, I don't want to do another thing. Then probably, I would say about a year ago, I was planning a family trip. I'm really the traveler, so I'm the family travel planner. And I was trying to crunch the numbers, because you're traveling with 4 people, because I have 2 little kids. It gets expensive. Like they don't charge like baby prices for your babies. Like they charge like grown prices. And I'm doing this, and I was, to be honest, I was struggling. I was like, I don't think I can financially make this work. Like, this doesn't, probably because of that big wave when the pandemic settled down a little bit and everybody started traveling. It was during that period of time, or shortly after that. And it was still a bubble when it comes to travel. And someone was like, all right, what did Google Flights say? And I was like, Google what? Google Flights. And I'm like, well, I heard of it. And I went over there. I was like, oh, and it changed a lot of things. What I'm going to do is hop on. Actually, we're going to hop on because you're coming with me. And we're going to see what's happening. So there we go. Yay, technology. I'm still relatively new to sharing my screen. So we'll see what's going on. All right. Hopefully you guys can see it. If you can't, jump in the comments. All right. So it looks like the normal aggregate. I'm in Las Vegas, as I mentioned. Las Vegas to New York, 138. That's pretty good, but it's on Spirit. Please don't travel Spirit. All right. Soapbox off. Okay, so that sounds cool, right? Usual aggregate, whatever. It focuses on flights, but also I think it does trains, a couple other things. Obviously, it does hotels. You can see it there. The Explorer one, though, this is where it gets fun. All right, there's so many details here, but I'm gonna keep it really high level. The first thing is that obviously you can go ahead and have your destination. It knows I'm in Las Vegas. Thank you, Google, et cetera, et cetera. Then it says 1 week trip in the next 6 months. You can break it down. Let's say you're traveling during the holiday season here in America, which is usually from basically the last week of December, right? Christmas usually marks the beginning of that, but shout out to Kwanzaa, as well as to my folks that are celebrating Hanukkah and all the other holidays during that period of time. All right, so let's say 1 week trip in December. Here's what I love about this. They set it up by price here, and everything's nice and organized. I have relatives in a lot of these places, so I'm like, oh, I can go see my cousins. That's fantastic, right? I don't know why I would fly to Joshua Tree, because it's only a few hours away, but I digress. All right, so you have these different things, but you have the filters, and the filters are where the real power is. So you have flights. You can also set it up by your interest: museums, beaches, skiing, history, prices, and then the airlines. Now, if you're a hardcore traveler like I am when it comes to frequent flyer miles and so forth, actually I used to be hardcore, not as hardcore as I used to be. Like, you can ask my family, I used to be really hardcore. I was that guy. Again, shout out to Brian, the points guy. I mention him a lot because I actually got invited to their first party. Those of you that are watching who hung on me at the time, some of y'all came to that party back in New York on the Intrepid. So that's how hardcore I was with my flights. If you're interested in getting your flight points up, like your frequent flyer miles, or there's different terms for them now. Trust me, there's like 3 or 4 different terms for frequent flyer miles. Whatever your wave is. Most of them come down to 3: Star Alliance, SkyTeam, and One World. I want to say, like I said, I'm not out of the loop. I want to say Star Alliance is United. I want to say SkyTeam is Delta. And I just want to say One World is the last one, which American? It might be American. Don't quote me on that. But it breaks down into those 3 major airlines. What you can do is click on one, and then it'll just show you those airlines that are not only with that main one, let's say United in this case, but it also will show all the partners and affiliates. So my family and I went to Europe over the past year. we do a lot of flying with Delta. So we're able to fly with a partner of Delta. And so we got Delta points, all of us, even though we once got Delta points, even though Delta wasn't flying to where we were going in Europe. It's a different type of wave. So it's a fantastic place to kind of play around with things. You can also book flights here. But again, I'm pretty conservative when it comes to the aggregates, just because I don't like the extra degrees of communication to come into that. Because again, I've been burnt once or twice. And you don't want to get into that situation, or at least I don't. So you don't have to book there, but at least you have the insight to check out what's going on. Excuse me. Another recommendation is, actually, let me go ahead and hook you guys up. I think I missed the link here. And so the next recommendation is, again, I need that Jeopardy music. It's Hopper app. I like Hopper app a lot. Let me go ahead and present Hopper to y'all. It's a little bit limited as far as what I can show y'all in there, just because it's actually an app. And so Hopper is a free app. At least the basic service is free. And they must know I'm in Vegas. They're killing me with the Vegas. I'm like, I live here. Why do I need to fly to Vegas? It's an app. I know it's available on iPhone. I believe it's also available on Android, but I'm an iPhone user. So correct me in the comments if I'm off on that one. It works like this. You say, last week of December, I want to travel to Acapulco. Shout out to Mexico. I want to travel to Acapulco for 3 days, starting on, say, December 29th. And then I want to leave, on New Year's Day. You can put it into the app. And I think they show the app on here. Yeah, they changed the website a little bit, so my apologies. There we go. That gives you a mini version of that. So you go and you put it in, get it all set up. And then you set the parameters. I want it to be this price range or up to this price. You don't do a minimum price because, of course, if you can get it cheaper, you will. But a maximum price, what the desired carriers are, right back to if you want to do Delta, United or American, et cetera, how many passengers, things of that nature. If you're okay with red eyes, if you want to have nonstop, or how many stops you're willing to have, things of that nature. Like, it totally breaks down. And it's fantastic as far as you breaking down what it means to sit there, chill out, and then actually have this app waiting for you and working for you. Because then you can be sitting there, if you have notifications on, which I recommend, you could be sitting there and say, and doing something else like playing with your kids or whatever. And then it gets a buzz, and it's like, hey, Delta has this flight now available, well within your price range, book it now. Or it'll give you feedback and say, you know what? You want to book this right now? This is when you first put the information in. You want to book this right now, but don't book it right now. In fact, the hottest time to book it is in about 2 weeks. In about 2 weeks, in fact, sometimes it says the days, like 13 days, we're going to hook you up. So go ahead, put aside your credit card, your debit card, whatever you're going to do. But in 13 days, this price is going to drop. We're guessing about 60, 70% or $5, whatever the case may be. It is a powerful tool. They've upgraded it a lot, but this tool is old school for me because I used to use this tool a lot. I want to say 5-6 years ago. It's been around for a while. And they've added so many different things to it. There's one cool thing that they have that I have not tried yet, and it's called price prediction. I talked about that, but the price freeze. And what it does is you give them, it's almost like a reservation. And airlines used to do this. American might still do this. The other airlines don't do that. I'm not crazy about American Airlines, but there's one thing I do love about their platform. Same thing with Hopper. What it will do is say, oh, okay, you got a flight I'm from Jersey. So you got a flight from going to Philly for $200, which is fairly cheap coming from the West Coast over here in Vegas. It's like, bet. You go ahead and do that. And they're like, great, come through. You can go ahead and lock this down. Pay us, let's say $5, because I don't know what the prices are at this point. $5, here you go. And then they're like, great. you can hold on to this price for the next week, next 2 weeks. If you're bringing a bunch of family, maybe you can get money from them and get it organized. If your money's tight or you're not sure, or you're still thinking about it, you have that leeway is what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to find the right word. So I'm struggling a little bit. That leeway. So basically you can go ahead and say, this flight to Philly is $200. Bet. I'm not ready to buy it yet, but I'll be ready to buy it in a little bit. Let me go ahead and lock that down because the price is only going to go up from here. If you add that with their price prediction, which is based on statistics and all these fantastic things that are actually pretty darn accurate, I'm amazed. And this was like a handful of years ago where this was my app. So I'm sure it's gotten even better. I think there might be some AI components now too. If you use a price prediction, you could say, let me go ahead and lock this down just in case. Here's my $5 hopper. And then if the price drops, if it drops more than $5, then it's a win for me. If it doesn't drop, then at least me and my family can still travel to Philly. That allows you to get more strategic. And that's what I always recommend to folks that ask me about travel, where it's not a matter of having a bunch of money. I've never had a ton of money where I'm just gonna oh, I'll just buy whatever. Like, I was never in that position. Even as I get older, obviously I got a house, I got a wife, I got kids, I got stuff I got to do. Businesses I'm building. I'm trying to support y'all. So even as you get older, even if you might have more resources coming in, and I have more resources than ever I've had in my life, there's still a lot more outgoing. So it's never going to be a period of time where it's just like, at least for me, I can't speak for y'all. There's never going to be a period of time where I'm going to be like, oh, F it, let me just buy this ticket. I don't care what the price is. Even if I became a billionaire tomorrow, that's not the way that I operate. And that's allowed me to build these businesses and connect with y'all and frankly have a level of freedom that I wouldn't have if I was going willy-nilly on the travel and paying any price. Of so many people, it makes me sad because so many people wait and say, wait until I get my money right, wait until this, that, and the third to travel. And if you're strategic about it, you can travel when you have very low resources, whether those resources are time or money. And me going to Iceland, my wife and I going to Morocco, me going to Japan a couple times, taking my family to Italy, all those different things. If I waited for the quote unquote perfect time, we wouldn't have any of those memories. That makes me extremely sad. I don't want you to be in that position. So if you're one of those people where you're like, no, I'll wait until things are perfect, there probably is never going to be a perfect moment. And that's okay if you make peace with that and use some of the tools I'm talking about here to be more strategic as far as how you show up, which I think is really important. Give a shout in the comments if you hear what I'm saying. Speaking of strategy, another recommendation, and I gave a hint to that earlier, the Delta Gold Card. If you're dealing with credit card stuff, if you're barely, whatever, if you're just trying to get through the day, which I can relate to, trust me, no judgment from me, then do not get this card. But if you know you're going to spend X amount of dollars on traveling, if you're bringing your family with you, if you're having relatives come in and you're hooking them up and you're paying for the flight, shout out to folks that are bringing their parents or grandparents in to come in and spend time with them as a family. This is a smart choice. The Gold Card is the first card. I think the annual fee is, it's less than $100, maybe $75 as of this recording. So again, as of October 2023. It works well for a few different reasons. Number one, it allows you to get into the cabin earlier. I think it's called Main 1 as of this recording, but as I always say, they keep changing it. Number two, it gives you free bags. Again, every time I travel, I'm traveling with 4 people and I'm a minimalist. What you see in my office, this is pretty much my office. There's not a whole lot of stuff aside from the winter coat I threw over there. That and a handful of books from the episode I did a couple of weeks ago. Shout out if you know what episode I'm talking about. With all those people that are flying at the same time, even though I might be a minimalist, they are not. And so it might be 3-4 bags that we're doing, and we're not doing carry-ons anymore. Unfortunately, because of the airline situation, and they're not doing carry-ons. We don't have that space. This allows you to have, I want to say, 2 checked bags per person. As of this recording, every airline is charging at least $50 for a checked bag. I will repeat. As of this recording, every single airline, aside from Southwest, shout out to them, is charging $50 or more to pack it to check in a bag. Some of y'all, shout out to Spirit again, are actually charging people for carry-ons. I'm going to carry my own bag and also get charged on it. It's amazing. It's like getting charged twice at the checkout line when you're doing the self-checkout. I digress. My whole point is that this card makes all of them free. So my wife and my 2 kids, we've gone overseas. We didn't have 4 pieces of luggage, thank God. But we could have done 2 pieces of luggage per person. And if you go overseas, I think it's usually more expensive. But again, you can correct me in the comments. Without this card, if it's two checked bags per person, and there's 4 of us, because I have 4 people in my family, that's $400. That pays for the annual fee and then some. And then when it's little old me, going to the TED conference, or shout to ASJA, going to the American Society of Journalists and Authors conference, or coming to visit y'all doing a keynote or whatever, and it's just little old me, I'm still getting a fine because I'm doing my checked bag. That's supposed to be $50. And the annual fee is, I want to say between $50 and $100. I do, and you get charged for each leg of the trip for that. So when I saw y'all over in Benton Harbor, shout out to Lake Michigan University. When I had my keynote there last year, I'm flying all the way to Detroit. That's $50, and I'm flying all the way back because I got to get home. That's $50. So just that one trip, little old me, that's extra $100. That would be out of my fee for doing the keynote. That's covered by this card. It doesn't have to be the Delta card. Let me be clear. It does not have to be the Delta card. It doesn't have to be this one. This is actually a referral link, so you'll get bonuses, and so will I. You do not need to use this link. You don't need to use this link. You don't need to get this card. What you do need to do, though, is be strategic as far as how you spend your money and how you strategize, double strategy there, how you strategize how you're going to get to where you're going to go. The nice thing, too, at least with the Delta card and most airline cards, is that you get bonus points, frequent flyer miles based on purchases, as well as, of course, when you buy tickets with this particular airline. I want to say with Delta, I want to say it's 2 to 3 times the amount of points. And so when, again, my family's going overseas, I'm getting the tickets, whatever the case may be, or I'm traveling myself, again, going to Vancouver for the TED conference or whatever, when I'm doing those things, it's just, those points add up quickly. And suddenly that next trip to Vancouver, the next trip to Philly to see my family or whatever, it's taken care of. It's like, wow, okay, that was quick. Again, when you got 4 folks, you got to think more strategically than that. If you're flying solo, quite literally, and you don't have a whole lot of resources, you got to be strategic about what you're doing. Same thing with this card. I'm old school Marriott. This card used to be Starward. Something with weird accents coming out. I think it's the hat. Starward. I cannot say it. Let's call it SPG. If y'all were travelers, say 10 years ago, you're probably familiar with SPG. Great line of hotels. I had a card with them. I loved their stuff. They got acquired by Marriott. I don't like Marriott as much, but I like them way more than the other chains. No shots to anybody else. At least as far as the major chains. The little chains, I could talk about them all day. Joe Levy and all those other stuff. We can talk about that. The Burrard. Cannot talk today. The Burrard up in Vancouver. Shout out to y'all. Like, there's fantastic boutique hotels. Some of them in Seattle and all that. But if you're going to do the major hotels, there's some advantage to that. Getting a card with the hotel or the airline that you rock with, if you know you're going to be traveling overseas, if you know you're going towards getting points so that you can stay at a hotel for free, you might as well just get the card that's related to it. Number one, there's all these benefits if you end up using the card outside of that hotel purchase, right? As far as getting the room for the hotel. And some of these, I believe this is the case with Bonvoy as well, which again, I've had for a while. You get bonuses with restaurants, which you're traveling, you're probably going to eat at restaurants. You get bonuses with, I think, shopping, as far as like food shopping. Again, I got 2 little boys, so we're always food shopping, things of that nature. That's cool. All those points go into you getting a free hotel room or whatever. The other benefit is the same thing I was talking about with Delta and any other airline, is that you will start to get these benefits that are unique to this particular platform. And if you know you're going to be staying in a hotel, let's say in Paris, stick with the theme. If you know you're going to be staying in a hotel in Paris and you're not necessarily committed to staying at a local hotel or a B&B, not Airbnb, but a real B&B, a real bed and breakfast or whatever, or maybe you're going to a place where you don't know the language, you're not as comfortable. There's great options that are within these massive chains, from Marriott to Hyatt to, I think Radisson is part of the Marriott now too. But you know what I'm getting at. La Quinta, if you want to get really old school. Days End. I remember we did my wife and I did a trip overseas, and I was post-grad school, and she was also finishing up school too, and we both didn't have a whole lot of money. And I remember getting us a key location, very popular city, and it was at a Days End. And I got the joint for, it'd be like $100 a night. And we also traveled with our friends, and they're like, how did you do this? And I was like, it's a freaking Days End. They have Days Ends in Europe. Who knew? I figured that out. And because I followed that path, I was able to help give us a great experience. My whole point is that if you're in a good financial position and or you know that you're going towards a particular trip, you know you're going to be spending the money anyway, get a card that matches whatever you want to do. Again, these are referral links. You get a bonus, as I get a bonus for the show, which I appreciate. But you don't have to use this link. You don't have to get the cards at all. Totally up to you. What I implore you to do, though, is that if it's Delta, American, United, I used to rock with Alaska when I was more deeper into the West Coast, all those other things, whoever you're rocking with, find some way to get more for your money. Marriott, Hyatt, La Quinta, whatever, Days End. Find a way to be strategic with the money that you spend. If you know you're going to spend the money anyway, figure out a wise way to do it. All right, we're talking about smart holiday travel. It's Q4, everybody. Here in America, we're about to, as I used to say, we're about to go ham. Like, travel's about to get serious now. I'm giving you all the tips to help you get there. Come to you every Wednesday and Sunday at 1:11 p.m. Standard Time, Vegas time. You can subscribe for free. If you're on Amazon, hit the follow button. I forget what they call it now, but shout out to you on Amazon. And thanks for all the beautiful comments that you guys are giving on Amazon as well. And on any other platform, just click the link below or go to bringyourworth.tv. You can subscribe for free. All right. So you're talking about the best way to plan my travel. We got that covered. How can I be prepared when I travel? I'm one of those dads that gets to the airport early. I'm one of those dads. It's a cliche, but it's true. And I like to get us there 2 to 3 hours in advance. Number one, because I've been super hands-on with the kids. I'm a stay-at-home dad. So I know the chaos that comes from just trying to get even one kid from one place to another. Give a shout out in the comments if you understand what I'm saying. You got two, even though they're older now, my kids are 7 and 10, it's like the muscle memory. It's like, well, I gotta get to the airport. 2 hours is not gonna cut it. 2 hours minimum, man. I gotta get 3 hours early because then they're gonna have to go to the bathroom. Back in the day, I have to change their diapers, like all this other stuff. I like being prepared, so I think I'm pretty qualified to help you on your way, even if you're not a parent. If you're one of those people, and I know who you are, I know some of y'all that are watching are like that. Like, I personally know some of y'all that are watching that are like that, where it's like, I'll just get to the airport 15 minutes before I see you. Please take some of my advice at least. All right. If you're going to have a good experience and take care of yourself and be prepared while you travel, first recommendation, I could barely get over my big head. I'm sure the hat doesn't help. I am a fan of this. I have the old school version of this. This is the Travel Nest memory foam travel pillow. This is called the Travel Rest. I think within the years that I've had this, they've extended the title by 6x. Like, let's 6x the title to make it sound more important. Shout out to Travel Rest. I love your stuff. I'm just teasing. Listen, you need some type of neck rest. As I mentioned, I just celebrated a birthday a couple weeks ago. You're not gonna get any younger. And a lot of the traveling that I have done, a couple times post-pandemic, but particularly pre-pandemic, was long flights. I'm going to go from the West Coast to the East Coast, which is where I'm from. I'm going to go from the East Coast to the West Coast, which is where some of my family was. I'm going to go up to Canada. I'm going to go down to Bogota, Colombia, and do a talk. Like, I'm used to going all over the place. When I can, I bring this. I can't always bring it because I don't always have the space. Here's what's cool. The new version of this actually is way more transportable, if that's a word. This one, again, is old school, but it works really well. And it's making me cozy. I already took a nap earlier today. It makes me want to take another nap. Take care of your neck. As Wu said, protect your neck. That's all I have to say on that one. Another one I just learned about. I got all the accessories today. Was it Stupid Pet Tricks? Yeah, shout out to David Letterman. All right, Runaway Health. I just learned about these folks. Here's what they do. Runaway Health will actually break down what you need for the particular thing that you're doing. As far as if you're going to Malaysia, there might be certain things that you need. I'm going to go ahead and do it live and also share this screen because me going over all their benefits would take another hour of the conversation. There we go. Travel without compromise. So you see these lovely, very young millennials climbing a mountain. You don't have to be that person. I can't relate to what they're doing. But if you're dealing with motion sickness, I can relate to that. Never had motion sickness, but I've been on boats and I have family members that deal with that all the time. It's not a good place to be. Sleepiness, altitude sickness, which matches the young folks that are talking about. And then all the different recommended places. Let's pull up Morocco. I think Morocco's on here. Morocco. See, we could have used this. My wife and I have been married for a while. We could have used this back then because traveler's diarrhea. I'm familiar with that one. I'm not going to tell you stories about that, but I know that one. So they give recommendations, add to a plan, just in case, because that has to do with, obviously Morocco is Northern Africa. So we didn't live here in Las Vegas when we went to Morocco, but it was still a very long flight. I can't remember how many layovers we had. So it's like, if you're dealing with sleepiness and stuff like that, looks like a really good opportunity. I just learned about them. Sorry, just cut it off for y'all. I just learned about them, so I want to make sure I include it in this. I have some sickness stories, not a ridiculous amount. And usually I have a cast iron stomach, which is why, you see the New Orleans beads up here. That's actually, my great grandmother was from New Orleans. So I think I have some of that gene. So usually I have a cast iron stomach, but even for me with some of the traveling and stuff, sometimes it just doesn't work out. And that's a tough place to be. I want to make sure that y'all are good and can really enjoy yourselves while you're traveling because you don't want to be stuck out there. And some folks are recently telling me about people that were stuck overseas and then having to deal with severe sickness. This is, again, another opportunity for you to, if you're dealing with severe sickness, this might not be able to help you, but it's a precautionary level you can take, particularly if you're traveling to places that are a little bit more rustic. If you're going into the deep jungles and things of that nature. Again, I'm not that kind of traveler. I've traveled a lot, but I can't tell you what the Amazon looks like. Amazon, I know, are the boxes. But if you're more adventurous traveler, then please check them out, see what's happening. I do not know them well, so this isn't a 100% endorsement, like go get them. But put this into your back pocket, use them, and get curious about them. Do your own research and see if they're worth exploring. It just seemed like a cool opportunity to me. All right, Flygene, toilet seat covers, disposable. I wish I had the setup to actually show y'all, but it's this beautiful little setup. In fact, I think I might have some wipes down here, but it's basically set up like this is the best way I can describe it. If you're ever on an airplane, or let's say you're in the desert of Morocco and you really have to go to the bathroom and the options are limited, these toilet seat covers will help you. If you have a little kid and you just left the house, they just said they didn't have to go to the bathroom, and suddenly you're in this unusual place and they suddenly say, I had to poop really bad, these wipes can help you. Again, I'm trying to have things that are super, super practical. I'm suggesting things where I was in at least one or two situations where I wish I had these. You might not think about toilet seat covers as much. You're like, whatever. I'll just do the little stoop. You know what I'm talking about. I can't do it on the air, but I'm not going to do it on the air. The little stoop, whatever over the toilet. But sometimes you're in situations, or you're sick, or you're tired, or you're jet lagged, or you just forget, and you just need to sit. These help with this. This is a new product. I'm just checking them out. I know toilet seat covers would have saved my hide in a few situations. Again, maybe we'll do a longer live in the future where I talk about some of my adventures, but it's not for here. All right. As far as tools, the Unadapt 75 watt Europe, UK, US plug adapter. Let me tell you, I went ahead and looked around. In fact, I have an idea of where it might be, but I have this bag of electronics, and anybody who's into tech, particularly when I was younger, I was really into tech, splicing things and all that stuff. I had the amp and the wire cutters and all kinds of stuff. My parents have tons of stories about me around the age that my kids are. And anyway, I still have a big bag of electronics. And I think somewhere in that bag, but we might have given it away, is this huge adapter. Shout out to Illuminate Life. I'm about to give y'all another ad. But it's a great candle, by the way. But seriously, it was a plug about this big and almost as wide. And it was not when we went to Morocco. I think it was when I went to Europe years before that. And I had to carry this huge plug around to interchange things. This plug is probably about the size of my hand. And if you click on the link, you'll see it's like the adapters are all connected together. So it's like a Russian doll. I forget the name of the Russian dolls, but you know what I mean? Where it's like one, another. So it's just a matter of unplugging the US plug from it, because I think that's the biggest plug with the 3-prong. You take the US plug off of it, and it might be like the UK plug. You take that off, and it might be the one for the rest of Europe, where they have different plugs. What you don't want, and I distinctly remember this, is to be in Western Europe, jet lagged, kind of broke, and going to try to find the local Walgreens or equivalent of it so you can get price gouge and get an adapter so that you can charge your phone and actually communicate with the rest of your family. Not that I can relate to that, just throwing out a hypothetical situation. Go ahead and get your plugs together before you leave, because wherever you're going to, they know you're coming. And if it's a popular destination, they know you probably don't have a plug. Get your plugs together, get them in order. But particularly the instances that I've talked about, many of them were years in the past. But today, we're way more dependent on technology. You had to have the physical airline ticket for years, right? I still have some of my airline tickets. They let me keep them. Now, they're literally on your phone. So that is your lifeline. So please, out of all the stuff I'm recommending, aside from the runway health and checking them out to make sure that you get your meds or whatever help you might need while you're on the road, this will be my highest recommendation. Get your plugs in order. It's like right behind your passport. Passport, plugs. Passport, plugs. So if you ain't got a plug, you can't travel. Then you might have not needed a plug. And back when I had my adventures, maybe you didn't need a plug, you can fumble your way through. Now, if you're not bringing a plug, I hope you're bringing a map. All right. How do y'all get prepared when you travel? What are your favorite items? Throw something in the comments. Let me know what's happening. I am far from a travel expert. I'm here to learn. So let me know. What's your must-haves when you travel? Give a shout in the comments. All right. The last question. How can I get inspired when I can't travel? This is a tough one because we've basically been going through this for a few years now. And for my friends that are immunocompromised, my friends who decide not to get the boosters and the shots that are so prevalent here in the United States, my folks that are just like, nah, I'm not going outside. you got my sympathy and you got my respect. There's still ways to engage with the rest of the world. And particularly, I want to say a couple years ago when we were homeschooling the kids, not even homeschooling, virtual schooling. Like my wife and I are not homeschooling kids. It was like, no, your kids aren't coming to school. So it was more like virtual schooling. Big difference. Shout out to those of y'all who are really homeschooling. You know who you are. Hat tip to y'all. When we were going through that, it was difficult because I wanted, particularly me, I wanted to show my kids the world. And it was like, they were getting to that age where it's like, okay, we can actually travel. And it's like, no, we can't. And so I had to find creative ways to connect them with the rest of the world. If you're an adult or if you're an individual and don't have kids or whatever, you still could have that same feeling. Sympathy to y'all too. I know what that feels like, whether it's for you or for a loved one. You want them to travel, and it's hectic right now, so you might not be able to do that. A couple things you can do. A cook store. St. Anthony Bourdain, miss you, love your work, huge inspiration. He passed away, I want to say 3 to 4 years ago, right before the pandemic. So I want to say like 4 years ago. I want to say like 2019. And he was instrumental as far as showing, my background is journalism, so showing what a writer can do in the creative space and how you can bring the world to someone. A cook's tour, his first major book was Kitchen Confidential. And very briefly, he was a chef in New York, picked up some rough habits along the way, but was always a great storyteller. And then he ended up doing an article for the New Yorker. If you know journalism, or if you know media, you know New Yorker is a big deal. He did a piece for the New Yorker, and I think it was called, or at least it was implied, but I think the title was Never Order Seafood on Monday. And it was this rule where the seafood mongers, which is what they're called, the seafood mongers don't deliver seafood on the weekend. And so if you're eating, let's say at Cioppino, shout out to San Francisco, if you're eating at Cioppino Monday for lunch, you're really eating seafood that's been there since maybe Friday. He did a whole article about these rules, and he was always very sardonic and sarcastic and cynical and funny as hell. That led to him doing a book called Kitchen Confidential, which ended up being a whole 40,000 words about this. I like Kitchen Confidential a lot, but this was his follow-up called A Cook's Tour, where he ended up partnering, I want to say, with the Travel Channel, because he worked with a lot of channels before he passed away. And I want to say it was with the Travel Channel called A Cook's Tour. And he traveled all around the world trying to find the perfect meal. And of course, it doesn't exist, but you can have perfect moments. And this is a book that's a companion to this. And we're talking about him in the present tense, because his presence is still here. Fantastic writer. These are my favorite books. I've recommended it a few times on this channel. If you want to get that energy, as far as that, if you're lusting to travel and you want to vicariously connect with someone, this is the book to get it. This is not a book for kids. If y'all know Anthony Bourdain, he cursed quite a bit. If you know me personally, I curse quite a bit too. If you want to coach with me, DamonBrown.net, you can check it out. But I do curse. If that's your vibe, you would love this book. It is a classic. It stays on my shelf. In fact, I read it so much, I don't even know where it is right now. I do have a copy over there. My name is Damon Brown. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV on the road. As you can probably tell, this is not my usual house. This is not my usual family. Shout out to Talking Heads. If you get the reference, then I think we're friends. But thank you for coming through. I'm so excited to be chilling out with you and to connect with you on the road. Once again, I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown. I'm here to help you as a side hustler, a solopreneur, otherwise a non-traditional entrepreneur. Make sure my mic is on. There we go. In a hip hop mood today, so you're going to hear a lot of those references. Bring Your Worth TV comes to you every Wednesday live, as we are right now, at around 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Vegas time, it is hot as an oven in this general area. So it's still hot in the greater Vegas area and in Nevada. If you want to subscribe for free, you can do so at the links below. If you're on Amazon, if you're on YouTube, which is the main channel over at bringyourworth.tv, even if you're watching on LinkedIn, you can subscribe or follow me or what have you. Do your thing. I'm not actually on a lot of the social media platforms. You can go to the previous episodes to hear all my discussions about that. In fact, I had a mega episode from 2 Sundays ago where I talked about how you can build your business without social media. So I'm not going to get into that here, but on most of the platforms, you can see some remnants of me. And I know some of y'all share that stuff on the platforms that you're on, such as Facebook and X, Twitter, whatever they call it now. But thank you for coming through wherever you're at. If you want to subscribe, you can do so below. And you can get the complete Bring Your Worth collection over here. Well-worn copy. I guess you call that like the front of the house copy. This is what this is. So I think my kids might have gotten to it too, but it's a whole nother story. The complete Bring Your Worth collection is available now everywhere fine books are sold, including at damebrown.net. If you want to get it directly from me, it's a complete series. Almost all my business books, but we got to update on that soon. Almost all my business books from the past 8 years. My youngest son just turned 8, and I have a picture of him as a toddler. I don't even think he was a toddler. He's actually a baby. He just started teething, and he's biting the first copy of The Bites Entrepreneur, and there's a bite mark right there, and I swear in the picture, he's biting on the bite mark. It's as cute as can be. I'm biased because he's my kid, but shout out to him. So him and my eldest, who are about to turn 11. It's an amazing time, but I wanted to actually celebrate this journey and getting so many books out. There's about 8 books in here, no lie. So be sure and get that. It's a celebration of y'all too. Y'all made some of them bestsellers. You supported all of them though, which I appreciate. And thank you for the love. Another gift from me with that is the complete Bring Your Worth collection audiobook. You can actually listen to it right now. Live right now at bringyourworth.tv. After we're done, of course, but be sure and check it out. And that's my gift to you as well. Again, a lot of people that I coach that I'm supporting right now. Thank you for watching. A lot of you are traveling, not just me, but also like abroad and doing different things. So shout out to y'all. If you want to go and connect and hear the complete series right now, you can click right now after we're done right now. So in about 45 minutes, you can click on this and get into it. And if you're a longtime listener over the past year, I've been contributing to Moxie. Moxie is a political platform, but not a partisan platform. And so similar to my content, it's not politically based as far as like saying you should vote for this person and that person, but it is about the discussion. Particularly what I contribute is the insights, the laws, the discussions that are going to be most pertinent in this upcoming year. We got a big election in America. I know y'all are going through it in India. You just had a major election. In the UK, my colleagues and friends over there are saying that things are wild over there. Those decisions that are being made and people that are making those decisions, how are our interests being met as side hustlers, as solopreneurs, as non-traditional entrepreneurs? So I've been contributing to that conversation. You can actually join for free. It's usually 30 days trial. Actually, they want to make it 60 days if you put in the code Brown Damon. It's right there, right under my big head. Check it out. And as we get into more stuff, we already had a little primary election here in the Vegas area, which is Clark County. So it's already starting here. I was already turning the ballot a couple weeks ago. So yeah, it's getting real, folks. Be sure and get involved, particularly if you own a small business or if you're part of a generally underrepresented community. I'm a part of a few of them. So we got to get our voice out, become part of their process. So exciting. You can watch right now Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole, Creative Power Strategy. I love doing this video, and y'all have really come through and supported the video, which I appreciate. And it's about the different strategies that the popular rapper Drake, the Pulitzer Prize winning rapper Kendrick Lamar, and very much rapper J. Cole, how they represent different ways that they found success. If you're into music, and particularly hip hop, you know that over the past few months, there's been a lot of discussions about the so-called big three and who's the big me, to quote one of the rappers. And I think it's a great discussion to find out not just who the best one is, which, I'm a hip hop head back to when I used to write for The Source. There's nothing wrong with that discussion. What I want us to take away from it, though, which I try to do with this video, in that 9 minutes, talk about the strategies that actually got them to where they are now. Like, there's literally millions of rappers now, right? Particularly if you've been following hip hop and writing about hip hop as I have for decades. There's millions and millions of rappers now. Rap is more popular than ever. And if you expand it to hip hop, which is a culture connected to rap, then it's even bigger, right? I'm a product of of hip hop culture, even though I'm not a rapper. What strategies did they use to harness their creative power so that they were able to show up in a certain way and become, the legends of this generation? They're a little bit younger than me. See the gray hair right here. So they're a little bit younger generation than me. But I think it makes it worth analyzing. I did a similar video about a year ago of the generation ahead of me, featuring MJ, so Michael Jackson, Prince, and Jay-Z, and how they use different strategies. The link to both of them is right in this link, so you can go ahead and watch it right now. I think you'll enjoy it, particularly if you're a fan of the show. But I'm so proud of this episode. I'm really glad of the conversations that are already happening right below, right below in the comments where, and then there's some shorts related to it that are from there, and the comments are getting even more heated there. And it's still a big debate. In fact, one of them, I forgot, I'd be remiss if I didn't say this. One of them, Kendrick Lamar, is actually having a live concert. If you're watching this live, he's having a live concert that's going to be on Twitch, which is a popular video game platform, but it's beyond that as far as live streaming, and also on Amazon Prime. So I have some business this evening, but I hope to catch part of it. If I get a chance during this episode, I'll throw a link in there in the chat. All right. So today's show, favorite road tripping gear. Shout out to Willie Nelson, who made a cameo in today's thumbnail. Thank you for letting me borrow your hair. So definitely could use it. I love to travel. And as I said in the newsletter at joindamon.me, you can join it for free. In today's newsletter, I talked about how I've always had a complex relationship with travel, where part of me always wanted to travel and part of me wanted to stay still. And I traveled or moved a lot, moved a lot growing up because my family dynamics changed, because, one of my parents got a promotion. And so I'm originally from South Jersey. Shout out to Atlantic City. Was raised in areas around Camden. So shout out to Camden. I miss y'all. And then had my teenage years in the Midwest. So shout out to East Lansing, Michigan. Shout out to Ohio. A lot of spots over there. Went to school in Detroit. Shout out to Oakland University. And then when I went to get my master's in Northwestern, shout out to Chicago, then I kind of went on my own. And by then I was a full grown adult and kind of was a little bit farther from my family. My point is that with traveling, I've always had a complex relationship because I traveled or moved a lot when I was younger, and I continued to move when I was a young adult. And then when my wife and I started our family and I started to settle down, there was always that conflict as far as saying, particularly when we had kids. And again, my eldest is about to turn 11. And so it ended up being this shift. And it's like, all right, how can I continue to feed that need for travel, but still be an adult, right? It's like, and shout out to the wonderful people. In fact, some of them I'm really cool with, who have taken their family on the road and been able to travel like that. We didn't have the resources or the time or the structure to do that. And that didn't quite fit where our family was. So there had to be a decision that was made. And so that decision was me being a stay-at-home dad. And that meant, the traveling was severely curtailed. Now, as I'm approaching or actually in middle age, then my view is different, where the so-called sacrifices I made when I didn't travel, I'm all like, well, I want to be at home with my kids. And when I travel, I want to take my kids with me. And it's just a different type of environment, a different type of feel. Let me know in the chat if you guys are experiencing a different way of looking at travel as you get older. But for the work that I do, travel isn't necessary, whether I'm going to a TED conference or I'm doing in-person coaching, which isn't as common now because, so many of us are remote. It was way more common when I started my coaching practice, well before the pandemic hit, and we weren't doing the hybrid model, right? So you coach somebody, you go have dinner, have a cup of coffee. And shout out to y'all who are my early coaching clients, where we'd go out in the Toledo winters or whatever, and just have a coaching session. I appreciate y'all. Different level of intimacy with that. But if I'm doing a keynote speech, um, if I'm going to a conference, whether it's a CES show, which isn't that far because it's basically here in Vegas, or I'm going to more of the complex or more intimate conferences that require you to be in person, it's like travel is still a necessity. So what I want to talk about today are those things and those strategies that allow me to keep my sanity as I'm traveling, particularly when I'm away from family. The things that help keep me healthy, because again, I'm not a spring chicken anymore. Man, I got so many different stories, and those that know me know I've done some crazy travel where it's like being on the road for ages, or catching flight after flight after flight. I know some of y'all are still living that life, so shout out to y'all. But hopefully it'll help y'all get some insight and some strength as you go and start traveling. And also having the fun part of it too, where you and your partner, you alone, you and your kids, whatever the dynamic might be, it's kind of that season, particularly here in America, where the weather's nice, a little bit warm, but the weather's nice. A lot of people are out of school or, taking vacations. This will be the period of time. Get on the road. And hopefully these tools will help you with that process as well as you thinking about travel. Where are you guys going now? Is there a particular place that you're going to now? Is there travel that you want to do? Now the pandemic has waned a little bit, at least for a lot of America, then is there a certain way they're trying to get outside now? Yeah, let me know in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. So true to the show, the question I get a lot is, how do you keep your business moving while you're actually traveling? And that can be a little bit more difficult than it seems, just because we have to find ways to keep the momentum of our business. Having systems in place is the number one tool. Shout out to Tim Ferriss. He talked about this ages ago in his classic, The 4-Hour Workweek, where he actually went to, I want to say South America, but somewhere for 6 to 8 weeks. And the amount of time that he was out of the country, he wanted to make sure he didn't have to check in. And this is like, again, almost 20 years ago. So Zoom, I don't think that existed. I'm not even sure if Skype existed. Like, it was a different type of period of time. So if you're out of the country, you're really outside. I remember my first trips to Japan, and I was in my mid 20s. It was quite a while ago. And I just had to email. There was actually an earthquake in Japan, specifically in Tokyo, while I was there. And my whole family was worried about me, as well as my friends. And I had to email everybody because cell phones weren't popping like that, back in that period of time. The positive side about that, with what I experienced, and of course with Tim experienced when he was in South America, is that if you're gone for that period of time, you need to have systems to keep things moving. So it's not an option. Right now, I think we get fooled because we actually have the option to say, oh, okay, I'm going to be, I don't know, I was in Europe over the past year, or I'm going to be in Paris, but I have a coaching call that was set up, so I might as well just take the coaching call, and I'll go to this. There's worse things to do than to be drinking Parisian coffee and be taking a coaching call. But it's supposed to be vacation and or family time. Is that what I want to do? Like, when I'm off next to the River Seine and I'm hanging out with my kids? Like, no. But we have that option now. And there's a couple of videos I'm going to recommend in a moment that will help you keep that business moving. And I think the issue is, number one, having the systems in place. But the second issue is having the right mindset and being like, I'm actually off. You've heard this probably from other thought leaders like myself, or people talking about things where that's really the danger, where we're in an always connected culture. And that means that you can always run your business, but that means that you're always running your business. And it allows you to be frankly lazy about creating systems that don't require you to be there. It can make you lazy about creating systems that don't require you to be there. And I think it's really important to go through that process and say, okay, if I were to, I've had health issues over the last few years, nothing major, but more with my allergies and stuff like that. Again, just a part of getting older. And it's like, okay, if I'm wiped out suddenly, believe it or not, there's bad allergies here in the greater Vegas area. So it's like, all right, I'm going to be wiped out. And I committed to having a show every Wednesday. And then suddenly I can't do it. So what's the system? Well, the system is, okay, well, I have a back catalog. Again, this is episode 386, I believe. This is episode 386. So I have a back catalog so I can do some reruns, or I can create a compilation of previous episodes, which I've done before, which you guys seem to appreciate. Stuff like that. Or I might be able to have a VA, which I don't have right now, but I could have a VA that I hire, and then they can handle it for me. Or I can go ahead and, there's so many different options. But things will happen, whether it's planned vacation or, you have issues in your family, or you have personal issues where you're like, I can't do it. So you're going to have to figure out how to keep your business moving, whether you're traveling for fun or not. And I think that's a really important part of it. The couple of tools I'm going to recommend will kind of help you keep things on the road, particularly if you do some of the work that I do, and hopefully it'll be useful to you. So the first thing I recommend is Audio Technica. I can never say that, but I guess I said it okay. ATR 2100X USB. Man, please. My friends in marketing, please help them, because that is a mouthful. It's a fantastic microphone. I'm actually using it right now, but man, please help with the branding. So this is the microphone. I'm going to get meta for a second. I apologize if you're listening only, because I'm going to get distant. This is the microphone. No, I'm getting distant now. As I said, it's USB, but there's also different cords to it. This is called, it begins with a C. I always forget the name of it. It's cardioid. I think it's a term for it, cardioid. So that means that there's cardioid basically means like a circle or oval. And so the way that it takes the mic in, it's actually able to get the surrounding area in front of the mic, but not the area away from the mic, which is why, even though I'm in a fairly big room, you're able to hear me okay. It comes with this little stand, which my favorite part, which sounds super nerdy. Watch this. So you go like this, and then actually there's a way to push this up, but I don't want to break it. But it gets small. So this thing is about the size, I'm an adult male, so about the size of an adult male hand. Not the biggest guy, but it's like an average adult male hand. And this slides right in. And in fact, when I was traveling, again, hence me getting here, I was able to put it right in one of my bags. No problem. It might have been one of my backpacks. I just slid it right in. It was easy. It's no problem. And then you go and you plug it in. And again, they have USB. They also have an adapter that allows it to, is it called USB-C, I believe? They have an adapter that actually, or another wire that comes with it that allows it to plug right into the Mac. I'm an Apple guy myself, so it plugs right in there. And then, you might be able to see it. Yeah. There's an on-off switch. It's blue right now, which means it's currently on. Again, while you can hear me. If I turned it off, then it'll be off. Really helpful to be thoughtful about that. If it's like you're trying to turn your mic off and you didn't, and the mute thing gets weird. And also the reverse, as far as making sure that people can hear you, so you make sure that's on. But of course, there's the light. So, I've had some mistakes with it, but it was definitely my fault. There's an excellent microphone to travel with, again, for that reason. There's some more sophisticated microphones that I actually just got, so I'm super excited about that. As I try them on, I'll go ahead and I'll go ahead and let you know how it goes. But the other microphones that I'm starting to work with, they're not really built for travel. They're a lot bigger. Now, they might be more crisp, they might be stronger, but this one is like a little baby microphone that works really well. This is actually my traditional microphone. So if you like the audio that you're hearing with the program, particularly over the past year, I think I've used it, then check it out. The links are all below, everything I'm talking about. So particularly if you're on Amazon, the link should be right next to you. The next one is a big one. Let me go ahead and pull it up. And it is the Paravel Aviator Luggage. That description looks massive, but this is important to note. Carbon neutral, made with recycled material and vegan leather. In other words, take your pick, whether it's carbon neutral, which means that whatever process the company Paravel used for it, it's actually not making damage to the environment based on the current environmental standards from the EPA or what have you. That's one. It's recycled material, which means the material itself isn't actually extracting from the environment, other than, I'm assuming, the energy that it takes to actually create it, like physically make it. But the material itself is recycled, and it's vegan leather, and you can put that together. This joint, it's adorable. I actually got this through Ted, so shout out to Ted. I've had it for a couple of years, but try not to knock over everything. This is what it looks like. So it is small enough for me to have it on camera and not have it totally all over the place. I'm not going to bother to open it because it's going to become something that's going to become Benny Hill. Been thinking about Benny Hill a lot. Shout out to all of y'all that remember Benny Hill. Yeah, that was definitely part of my childhood. But so suddenly it would turn into Benny Hill and all this stuff would be spilling all over the place. And then the horns would start and then I'd be running around in the circle trying to get all this stuff from the suitcase. But this suitcase is super cool for several reasons. Number one, it is dumb light. Like, it's ridiculously light. Like, I want to say suitcase itself is maybe, I've had bowling balls that have been bigger. I used to bowl back in the day. Shout out to my Midwest, again, my Midwest upbringing. But yeah, I've had bowling balls that have been heavier. So I'm guessing it's about 7 pounds, maybe. But it's durable as hell. Number two, it's simple and compact. It works really, really well. And it's worked on my weekend trips, the trip, that I'm doing right now, where it's a fairly brief trip, just for a few days. And it fits all my stuff into there. It works really well. It's also very durable because I've taken it across the country. I might have taken it out of the country. I might have done an international trip with it. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure I have I've had it for a couple of years. And if you want to be environmentally conscious about it, it works really well. The reason why I'm recommending both the Audio Technica and the Aviator luggage is that for me, the compactness and not having to worry about things working is huge when it comes to traveling. And again, I'm in the middle of traveling, but it's Wednesday. It's Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. So I'm doing the show. And so me not having to worry about that, not having to worry about make sure my clothes are good. And yeah, of course, I got my Bring Your Worth t-shirt that you see down here. But, like not having to worry about all my stuff fitting in there, not having to worry about my sound being off because I have my microphone now. All those things, I think, allow you to keep your business going if you do need to do stuff on the road. That leads to my biggest recommendation for this question is checking out this video, Brene Brown, How to Slow Down Without Losing Your Business. One of my favorite moments or examples that I've seen with Brene Brown, and also one of my favorite videos. About a year and a half ago, Brene Brown put a message on her LinkedIn, and I think on other platforms, said, hey, I feel like I'm burning out. I need to stop. I'm going to take a break until September. I think it was like March. So maybe it was March of last year. Excuse me. And she explained, hey, these are the podcast episodes that she had 2 podcasts at the time. Having one is hard enough. These are the best episodes from these 2 podcasts. We'll be doing some reruns, but I really need to find balance. And she had just came out with a book called Atlas of the Heart. And it was just a lot that she was doing. I think I'm busy. She was ridiculously busy. And she was like, hey, I'm going to go and take a break. And so the way that she did it was so beautifully done, so strategic, and so honest. And when I've taken breaks, I've tried to use that same practice well before she did. But then when I saw how she did it, I was like, oh, that's how you can do it. That's beautiful. I love it. And so I did a video about it. It's about 20 minutes long. If you're struggling with how you can take a break from your business, if you feel like that's not possible, that taking a break is for everybody else, but not for you, be sure and check out the episodes. And I think you might be able to get some insight from it and hopefully get some encouragement as far as how you can do that in a strategic way that doesn't make you feel guilty or feel shame around it. You're watching Bring Your Worth TV. I'm entrepreneurial coach Damon Brown on the road live. Bring Your Worth TV is every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. You subscribe for free over at youtube.com/BrownDamon, all that link point there, or just go to BringYourWorth.tv. I'm trying to keep it easy for you. And my complete collection, the complete Bring Your Worth collection, is out now. You can listen to it live at BringYourWorth.tv or grab it at your favorite retailers, wherever fine books are sold. All right. So, really important question. How do I keep sanity on the road? I think everyone has a different practice for this. I know for me, and I actually get this from my family, so shout out to my mom and other folks who do this. As soon as I get into a hotel room or the Airbnb or, staying at a friend's house, whatever the situation is, family, the first thing I do is situate everything as much as possible as it is at home. So that means when I get in, I unpack all my clothes. I pull out my medicine and toiletry bag and all that stuff, and set it up in whatever bathroom I'm going to be in. Not taking up everything, but whatever my piece of the bathroom is. And then that leads to me bringing stuff from home that makes me feel the most comfortable. Like for instance, I know I was going to be here for a few days, so I actually brought my favorite robe from home. It's like, yeah, if there's space for it, let's bring it. Why not? And I also brought some foot slippers that I got for free when I was doing some overseas travel. And I don't use foot slippers at home as much. Actually, I have an official pair at home. But I got the slippers while I was traveling overseas, and I was like, these might come in handy. And so I brought these, and these are great. Because carpet or whatever might be going on. So that makes me feel more cozy. The certain sense of home. Shout out to Jenny Blake, who I've mentioned before. She did the awesome book Pivot, as well as her recent book, I think it's called Free Time, which she talks about how you can manage your time and make more time for the things that you love. You can tell why her and I are good colleagues. I think she does this, as well as a couple other people who actually bring candles. You have to be careful with the smoke systems, but folks will bring candles and then light them so those smells of home are familiar. Those little details, they might seem kind of weird or trivial, but they start to add up, particularly if you're doing long-term travel. This is not long-term travel for me, but when I did my first major book called Porn and Pong, How Grand Theft Auto, Tomb Raider, and Other Sexy Games Changed Our Culture, that was almost 16 years ago, long while ago. I'm like stuttering. I'm like, I can't believe it's been that long. But that was back in 2008. And I didn't know what I didn't know. So I planned travel all across the country. And I did it within about 3 weeks without coming back home. And I was living in San Francisco at the time. And probably by week 2, I realized I made a mistake. And I was like, so I know me well enough where me checking in back home, even though I have traveled a lot, me checking in back home between big travel things, even for just a day, helps me reset, as opposed to me just being on the road and not coming back. In having that experience and some other experiences that I'll probably get into another time, I realized how crucial it was for me to feel centered as I was traveling. Because whether you're into routine or not into routine, when I was younger, I wasn't as much into routine. We still have certain things that we feel that give us comfort and that help create the structure of our lives. Even if we rebel against having a routine, that in itself is a routine, right? Right. As my friend Nilofer Merchant, shout out to her, does a wonderful book called The Power of Onlyness. And she talks about being a rebel. And when we say we're being a rebel, that's not the same as being a leader. A leader says, I'm going to create a new path for us to go on. I'm going to lead the way. A rebel says, whatever we're doing right now isn't working. We need to tear it down. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they know what's next. So even if we're working within a structure and we're rebelling against a structure, we're still responding to the structure. What happens when there is no structure, aka when you're on the road? Those little details, whether it's little candles, again, be careful. I've set off smoke alarms, so that's why I don't do the candles anymore. But if you do like little tea leaf candles, tiny candles, there's certain fragrances. I love lavender, so I got the lavender joints all in this place. Whatever, you got the slippers, cheap house slippers, but they feel so good. I brought my favorite robe. Like, get that stuff that makes you feel comfortable and rock with it. If you can bring that space, if you have the space to bring it, I mean, why not? And even if it takes a little bit of your luggage space, get you your Parvel over here. There's plenty of space in that joint. Then you're good. And bring them. Why not? And I think that will help a lot. There's also some practical tools that I think might help as far as comfort level and keeping your sanity on the road. Okay, this is out of all the stuff I'm recommending. If you've been a long time, as they say, a long time listener, first time caller, if you're one of those folks who've been watching Bring Your Worth TV for a while, for the 400 episodes, you've heard me mention TripIt a lot. I am not sponsored by them. Nothing like that. I just love their product. If you guys want to sponsor, give me a holler. But this is just because I love their stuff. TripIt is really, really, really simple. And the OG, as far as the travel space, you put your information in there. In fact, you can forward it. There's once you get your Airbnb, your hotel information, your car rental, whatever it is. Even if there's like a play or a movie you're going to go to, any of that information. Once you get that email, you don't have to put it into the app. You just email it to their specific address. I'm not going to mention the address because they might be changing it. You send it to that address. Within 5-10 seconds, they email you back. Automatic reply. They say, hey, we got it. And they'll let you know if there's any issues with the reservation, like if there's conflicts or whatever. Other than that, they have this platform, usually through the app, which I recommend getting the app, and it will organize all your stuff. The most important thing, though, is not just the organization, but also that it will warn you if things change. And so I remember being on a flight to Pittsburgh, and I forgot why I was in Pittsburgh. I think it might have been a layover or something. And me and whomever I was with being stuck on the tarmac. And whenever there was a delay or an update, because they also, whoever it was also at TripIt, our phone would buzz at the same time and would say, hey, this Delta flight is delayed, for another half an hour. Just be prepared, or did you want to find an alternate flight? And then it would be like 10 minutes later, I'm not exaggerating, then it'd be like, hey, it's your pilot speaking. We're actually going to be delayed for another 20 minutes, which of course makes it the 30 minutes plus a 10-minute delay, right? And it was like, oh, wow. And that happened like 4 times during the course of this very complicated trip. I think it might have been snow or something that totally screwed it up. Welcome to Pittsburgh, right? Shout out to my Pittsburgh folks. And, but that's what TripIt does. After that experience, I was like, oh, I'm lifelong TripIt. Like, forget that. Particularly, like, this is just a national travel. This is just within the States. With the international travel that I've done, it has totally saved my behind. And also, they just recently advanced it, I would say over the last 6 months maybe, where you can actually change your flight within it. And so they will help with that process with, if you're a road warrior like myself, being able to change your flight without having to stay in the line, whatever, is good. And I've had elite status with a lot of the airlines. Still, what TripIt's able to do is a little bit better than some of the elite status. So shout out to TripIt. Be sure and check it out. Again, this isn't affiliate or anything. I'm not connected to them. I just love their stuff. Be sure and check it out if you're going to be traveling. Road trips, you might not need it as much, but if you're going to be in the air or anything that requires a train, man, trains are crazy. I used to take a lot of trains, and they could be a day late. Easy. I don't know if that's happened or changed or not, because it's been a while since I've been on a train. But if you're on any type of system traveling where it's not a car, you actually have to depend on someone else being on time, please get TripIt. There's a free version of it. There's also TripIt Pro. I think the Pro might be $50 a year. Might be a little bit more. How valuable is your time? You got to ask yourself that question. Again, the question, how do I keep sanity on the road? That part. More gadgets. This is actually one of my favorites. I've had this forever. This is actually the TripIt. Got TripIt and TripIt. TripIt Stormbox 2 Bluetooth speaker. This is awesome. I'm a big fan of it. In fact, I should be able to turn it on. Hopefully the mic won't go away. So really simple setup. There's a power button. There's the Bluetooth button. There's a whole story behind the history of Bluetooth. You should look it up sometime. But it has to do with, I think, Danish culture. It's crazy. And then there's the bass boost. And then this little thing is more power. You can lift this up. This part is a little bit tricky, but I want to be honest with how it works. Okay, so you open it up, and then of course you can plug that in to charge it up. There's no battery. It just plugs into the wall, which, and then we can do this. Right, and then it's going to try to connect to my phone. There you go, it just connected to my phone. So, yeah. I was listening to the Michelle and Diacello Tiny Desk concert, which you should listen to. There we go. See, I knew it was going to mute me. See, that's why you don't do the live tech demos. Sorry about that. What I was saying is that it was connecting, but I thought it was connected to my phone because that's what I was listening to. And evidently it connected to my computer. But it's usually connected to my computer anyway, so it's not a problem of the device. It's more a problem of how my system is set up, back to systems. I love this device. It is, again, light. It might be 2 pounds. You see me just flinging it around. I want to respect the other people where I'm at, so I'm not going to blast it right now. But when I'm at home, and the new Griselda comes out, or the Kendrick Lamar stuff that I've been listening to a lot. Again, I've done a lot of videos about him recently, or even the new J. Cole stuff that's come out recently, or just listening to Angela Bofield, rest in peace, classic R&B that I grew up with back in the 70s. Like, it's fire. Shout out to David Sanborn, who just died recently too, and I did a newsletter about him a few weeks ago. The classic, iconic jazz saxophonist. You might not know his name, but you definitely heard his work. And me blasting him, and the bass and the sound and the hi-hats and the treble. It's excellent speaker, and it's super portable. I've taken this to the beach before and stuff like that. Definitely taken on road trips. Check it out. And it's super affordable at this point. When I got it as a gift a few years ago, shout out to my family. I got it as a gift a few years ago. It was a lot more expensive. Now it's considered more of a vintage model, but it works excellent. And I've had no problems with it. I want to say the battery life is I probably have to charge it maybe once a week. And I use it a lot. I use it while I'm working, even while I'm editing these videos. As I edit this video for the replay, which you guys can also check out, then I'll probably be listening to this, particularly when I'm back home. So yeah, definitely worth checking out. And this one is a fun one. I just got this. I'm so excited. I'm not going to sing the Pointer Sisters, I promise. This is, make sure I get the name right. This is the Crosley CR 8005F MT Cruiser. Man, these names. Plus vintage 3-speed Bluetooth in-out suitcase vinyl record. It's a portable record player. That's what it is. Shout out to Crosley. I just got this joint. It's super light. And it opens like this. I feel like I'm suddenly in some type of mysterious briefcase movie. Pulp Fiction. I was like, what's the movie with the briefcase? This is a joint right here. Hopefully you can see it well. And I can take this down as well, so you guys can actually see. There we go. Get new surroundings makes it harder. And everything's backwards here. So give me a moment. There we go. So you can see that. There's actually a 45. Actually, it fell off. But it does all three speeds. What are the speeds? It's a 78, 33, and then the middle one is 45. And again, if you're in my age group, or your vinyl, the vibe is that little 45 in here. And then this setup, as you can see, you have your power, you have your pitch, you have your volume, and as it says in the setup, this is all Bluetooth based. And so it goes in 2 directions, which I'm still having a lot of fun experimenting with. It goes in 2 directions. There's speakers in there. And so if you have something like, again, I have my phone right here, or even my computer. You can actually Bluetooth connect to it and then use it as a speaker. And of course, when you have your vinyl, like your Angela Bofill record, which I plan on getting later on this week, I cannot wait. The Angel of the Night album, that's going to be the first album I get for this. I used to have a bigger vinyl collection, and then I traveled and moved so much, as I talked about earlier. I ended up getting rid of a lot of it. I don't regret that, because like my partner and I, and with the kids and all that, sometimes we lived in very small spaces. Not New York small, not Manhattan small, but fairly small spaces where if you have, a few hundred vinyl records, it's not going to work. So I don't regret giving them away. But for so long, I've been looking forward to getting a record player again. Two important things about this. First of all, there's currently a sale, like at this moment, which is one of the reasons why I copped it. So if you want to go and cop it, now would be the time. The links are below. The second thing is that I've had probably a handful of record players, particularly in my adulthood, and me and my best friend, shout out to Ray, us going vinyl shopping back in Chicago when I was post-grad after going to Northwestern. And that was many, many an afternoon, particularly if you're a broke post-grad student living in an expensive city, which Chicago, more expensive cities around, but when you're broke, Chicago's pretty expensive. And it was wonderful filling up afternoons looking at vinyl. And then, of course, vinyl wasn't as popular as it is now. Now I sound like the old man. Vinyl wasn't as popular as it is now. And so we're able to go and get, vintage Alice Coltrane, who is John Coltrane's widow, and in some ways a fantastic, maybe arguably better musician than he is. I know it's sacrilege, but finding her joints, and they were like 99 cents. And getting into the classic Bob James, shout out to Bob James. A lot of the jazz stuff, even musicians that I wanted to get into, but I couldn't afford to, and I was able to find their vinyl. The reason why it really works as a travel thing is it's ridiculously light, and it's also very, very affordable at this moment. I can't promise the price, but if you're watching it live, the price is really good right now. With the other turntables I've had, they have not been portable. Hell no. You don't want to have your Techniques, 200s or whatever, or 1800s. I think they're 1800s. The Techniques 1800s, whatever, and having them under your arm, and then you're trying to go to the airport, or you're going to the beach for the day. Like, you can't do that. Like, that's not going to work. Also, too, with the Renaissance and other people realizing that vinyl is fantastic. Again, my best friend and I were ahead of that wave, a long time ago. Let's leave it at that, decades ago. But with that wave coming back, there's an opportunity for you to get involved in grabbing vinyl. And depending on what type of trip you're doing, taking the vinyl with you actually isn't that ridiculous. Or if you look at it this way, which will probably happen as I'm traveling right now, even finding vinyl or records where you happen to be traveling to and being able to play them back at your hotel, back at your Airbnb, back to your family's place, whatever. Just this portability factor made it like a no-brainer for me. It was just like, no, I need to have this as I travel on the road. So I'm really excited to keep experimenting with it, build my collection back up. It's affordable and it's portable. And yeah, with in the age where I was buying turntables, which we call it hip hop. When I was buying turntables, they would cost $200, $300. This one is far cheaper than that, and it's portable, and it's Bluetooth compatible. Forget about it. So definitely check that out. I know it's going to be helping me with my sanity already as I do more travel later on this year. Again, that's the Crossley. I'm not going to say the rest of that, but it's a suitcase vinyl record player turntable. Man, someone needs to work it. Man, we need to find it. We need to do better. We need to find a better way to put that into 3 or 4 words. Lastly, when I'm keeping my sanity, I love the Delta Gold Card. It's a credit card. I've had it for ages, a long time, probably since my youngest one was born, maybe a little bit less than that. So I've been hardcore with that. Number one, I love Delta. The 3 major carriers that gets across America. It's Delta, American, United. Delta is my joint. I got a lot of stories I've done a lot of traveling. I've done my research. Shout out to the points guy. Mm. Yeah, Delta's one for me. Delta's one for me. If you want to rock with Delta, if you're curious about Delta, or if you are already into Delta, there's many reasons to get this card. Number one, out of the different cards that are available, it is by far the most affordable. There's some of the cards that have an annual fee. This has a very small one, so that's one. The second thing is that it allows you to have free baggage for yourself and anyone who is actually on the same ticket/flight as you are. So if it's like you, let's say it's you and your mom and your aunt. If you guys buy the ticket at the same time and you're all on the same ticket, that's what they call it, the same ticket, and it's all purchased on the same time, then all of y'all would get free luggage. To get you up to speed, if you don't travel that much or if you haven't traveled in airports for a while, pretty much the standard is if you're checking in a bag, it's going to be $50 minimum. When I did the overseas travel, I think it was $60. Now they had a look, and then of course you have your 50 pound limit for each of the pieces of luggage. I believe with this card currently, and the things change, so please look at the link for details. I think currently you can have up to 2 pieces of luggage checked in for free. So off the rip, if you, again, I recently had a European trip. So the trip over there, if you check in one bag, that's, let's say $60. And then you're coming back. Remember, it's not round trip. So you're coming back and you're also paying $60. So whatever small fee they have, the annual fee, it's going to be taken care of by the time you do your first trip, for sure. If you're checking anything in. I check in less stuff because I tend to be a lighter traveler. Again, that's why the Paravel like suitcase, that's like big for me. You know what I mean? Like in another lifetime, I'd be a backpacker. So that's plenty of space for me. But yeah, as I get older, of course, traveling with other people and my kids and all that stuff, it's like, oh, that's going to come in handy. And it did, again, with the recent family travel and other stuff. You also get points based on what you purchase. So of course you get, Delta frequent flyer miles for everything that you purchase, because every dollar that you spend turns into 1 frequent flyer point. Over the course of a year, or in my case, many years, it adds up really quickly, which allows you to do free travel. Two caveats in a good way to that. The first thing is that there's certain things that give you more points. Like if you use this card, I think it's currently at restaurants, then you get 2 to 3 points per dollar. So if you end up having a fancy business dinner, which I'll have a few times a year, I'll take a client out or whatever the situation it is. And let's say you spend $250 on dinner, which, for three people for a fancy dinner here in Vegas or general Vegas area isn't unusual. So you spend $250 on that. Then that ends up being perhaps, I think it's double or triple the points. So then you end up having 500 frequent flyer miles or even 750 frequent flyer miles. And as of this recording, or as you're watching this live, I think the cheapest Delta flight is about 7,500 frequent flyer points. I've gotten a few of those. So you do that $250 dinner, assuming it's 3x for that, then you got 750 and you're a tenth of the way to getting a free flight, just like that. And then you pay off your credit card and do whatever you need to do financially to do it, but at least they record that part of it. The second caveat with that is that as you go ahead and build up points and as you're working with the card, then it actually enables you to get access to certain discounts that only card owners have. And so a relative of mine recently experienced that, where her and a friend wanted to go traveling, and she had this card. It's either this card or one of the higher echelon ones, but it was part of the Delta card family. Let's just say she had this card. She had this card. Her friend did not have this card. They went to, book things together because they wanted to fly together to this place. And they actually had access to different seats, right. So there's certain seats that were like blocked off for my relative's friend, but my relative saw the seat and was like, why don't you just get the seat next to me? And her friend was like, well, there isn't, it says the seat's not available. And they were like, oh, wait a second. You have the card. I don't. That's what happened. This is a recent discovery. And so, even as far as your availability of seats, how much of seats might cost, particularly how much they cost in frequent flyer points, there's different tiers depending on if you have this card or not. A lot of reasons for it. There's actually a referral link. So I will get a bonus for it, but then I think you get a really nice bonus, like probably more points than I got when I signed up for this card way back in the day. It's in the tens of thousands of frequent flyer points if you end up signing up with this link. Hopefully it serves you well. I try to put up stuff on here that's going to serve everybody that is watching the show. So I wouldn't be recommending it if it wasn't fire. I've had the card for, again, almost the whole lifetime of my youngest son, and he's about to go into third grade. So I rock with this card heavy. There's also different tiers of the card. The gold is the most basic one. That's worked out well for me. I think there's a platinum one, and I think there's a blue one, which if you want access to the lounge and the real baller stuff, which I used to do, but I don't need that anymore. But go and check out the link. There's like 3 different options there. Have a blast. If you're going to be traveling and flying anyway, I say go ahead and get your points for it and do your thing. And, me having the card and other opportunities allows me to keep my sanity on the road. Again, my name is Damon Brown. I'm an entrepreneurial coach to side hustlers, solopreneurs, or otherwise non-traditional entrepreneurs. You're watching the Bring Your Worth show at Bring Your Worth TV every Wednesday at 1:11 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, Vegas time. And I also have some bonus episodes that you should check out. I mentioned at the top of the show. You subscribe for free at bringyourworth.tv or on whatever platform you're rocking with. Feel free to do a follow or whatever they're calling it nowadays. Every platform's different. I can't keep up with it. I'm not a tech guy anymore, so I don't have to keep up with it anymore. But whatever your flavor is, feel free to follow or like or whatever so you can keep abreast of it. The simplest way actually to do it is go to bringyourworth.tv, subscribe, and then you get notifications. Hit the notification bell. You'll get notifications via email whenever a new episode comes out. You get my complete Bring Your Worth collection. It's over here. Here we go. Complete Bring Your Worth collection available now. And you can also watch it at bringyourworth.tv at the link below. And a recent episode that you can watch right now. Drake, Kendrick Lamar, and J. Cole, Creative Power Strategy. There's a great conversation happening over there, as well as with the short video clips that are related to it. Some great conversations. And again, if you've been into music or hip hop recently, you know there's been a big conversation. I'd love to contribute my piece of it. More importantly, what business strategies we can learn from the current 3 GOATs, greatest of all time of our generation of hip hoppers. Last question, and if you have any questions, throw them in the comments. Last question, how do you keep your health up on the road? This is a key one. I mentioned earlier that I brought my robe here. I brought my favorite scents, all that good stuff. I also try to have some type of structure or routine, which is sometimes hard to do. Like this morning, I went and did brush my teeth. I washed my face, kind of got started. And then I did my 5 minutes of meditation, which in a couple of days I've been traveling recently, I haven't done. And to be honest, I woke up this morning and I felt pretty off balance. I'm like, what is going on? I was like, am I catching a cold? Or, when you travel, sometimes you eat some exotic stuff, for lack of a better term. I was like, what's something I ate? I'm like, oh no, I need to go ahead and wash my face, start my routine, do my meditation. And yeah, a couple minutes into my meditation, I was like, oh, I feel fine. Everything's fine. But my routine had been disrupted. And again, there's nothing wrong with disrupting your routine sometimes. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that continues to be disrupted, then that disrupted behavior becomes your new routine. And you don't know how your body, your soul, your mind might react to that. And so if you're feeling off balance when you're traveling, I think it's important to go ahead and have some type of routine, some type of setup that will help you keep some type of sanity. And there's some tools that I've had too, which I think have helped quite a bit with that. Excuse me. One, which is a funny one, is actually me bringing a portable Nintendo Entertainment System, which allows me to chill out. This is a fun one. Oh, if you're like me, oh man, Look how tiny. Look at this. That's not even. It's it like it almost fits in my palm. This is just crazy. It's so adorable. Another holiday present. I think it was Father's Day a few years ago. Thanks again to my family for getting this for me. Around the time that first came out. If you are a 80s kid like I am, then you know what the vibe is. The original one was like way bigger. I don't think this opens. Okay. It was way bigger, but it actually is the same setup. And this is the power button. This is a reset button. Hopefully I'm unlocking some core memories for you guys. And there's an HDMI cord in the back or plug where the cord goes in. And it's really as simple as that. It has 30 games, and the games vary from the whole Super Mario Brothers series. So SMB 1, SMB 2, and SMB 3, all classics, the trifecta. There's Metroid and Kid Icarus. If you're hardcore like me, you have a lot of memories of that. There are some hard games, so depending on where you're at. There's Ice Climber. There's Double Dragon, which was the classic fighting game from the 80s. There's Star Tropics, if you're an RPG nerd like I am, as well as the original Final Fantasy. And I believe Final Fantasy 2 is Mike Tyson Punch-Out. Shout out to Mike Tyson. That's how long Mike Tyson's been around. He's like 57. And he's still in the ring. This is back when he was the most dangerous man alive. Lots of other good stuff. Tecmo Bowl. So not just games that are actually from Nintendo itself, but also games that were from what we call third parties. So from companies like Capcom, which I think Mega Man 1 and 2 is in there. Like they're covering like the greatest hits. All in here. You don't need to download anything. You can actually save at any time. Thank God. Because these are some of the Castlevanias in there. Speaking of hard games, it's some of the hardest games that have ever been made. The original Mega Man, I remember beating that and I thought like my life was good. I'm like, wow, I'm part of the elite now. I'm part of Mount Olympus. Really hard games in here, some of them. You can save at any time. And I think there's 4 or 5 save slots. Metroid comes to mind, where it used to have a password system where it had 20 different characters, if I remember correctly, that you had to memorize. I remember getting the handwriting wrong because I've always had sloppy handwriting. I remember doing an all-nighter with Metroid, writing down the password, and then I must have gotten a letter wrong, and I lost all my progress, and I remember being so angry. You don't have to go through this with that. Again, I'm middle-aged. I'm not going to go through that anymore. That's for my kids. But also, the beautiful thing about this, 2 things that I love about it. Number 1, again, it's ridiculously portable. These controllers are the same, like the same techniques that I used. Bam, they're the same, right? The second part of it is that everything's self-contained. And so I literally was able to bring this with me on my trip and just, again, tiny little thing, put it in the backpack. There's a couple extra wires in the back here, but that's it. And it's plug and play, as we used to say back in the tech days. And all 30 games are in there. You don't need to download anything. You don't need an internet connection. It's just beautiful and self-contained. And I loved when I got this a couple years ago, and my kids must have been 5 or 6, 5 going on 6, and probably 8. So 5-year-old and 8-year-old, and being able to play these games with them that their old man, when I was around their age, was playing, and be able to expose them to this and to show them things that, they might not have. They might think you need to have a PlayStation 5 to have fun. And it's like, no, actually. And we spent hours, if not days, on this, much to the chagrin of the rest of the family, where it's like, okay, you guys need to take a break. 2 words of caution with this. Number 1, this has actually become vintage in itself. So this vintage has become vintage. So these run a couple to a few $100s now. They're a little bit cheaper before, but now they're becoming harder to find. If you want one, you can use the link below, and they'll have used ones, whatever. Go for it. Again, there's not a lot of technical components to it. Just get one while you can, because again, I got mine about a couple years ago, and they were starting to become a little bit scarce then. And I was doing some research for this episode, and they're getting scarce again. So be sure and check it out. The second thing is that, which not crazy about, is that the controllers that come with it are tiny. What is this? This is 3 feet. If you played any type of video games that are wired controllers, and again, this generation, you might be part of this generation where you're used to wireless controllers. I'm used to wired controllers. So my kids, again, 2 rough and tumble boys. And there's so many times where they were like in the middle of playing, I don't know, Mega Man, again, the hard one, the first Mega Man. And they have yanking it out. And then again, some getting yanked out. So I end up footing the bill for an additional controller. And there's a lot of third parties that do this. And this is actually another camp. I'm going to show you. Let me show you. Okay, so I'm about 5'7". This is my forearm. This is how long this wire, I can't even keep it on my forearm. This is how long this wire is. So it's like, was this like 10 feet? Like this is a thing, but they didn't yank it out anymore. It's worth footing. I don't know. I think I paid like $15 for this. 100% worth it. So if you're going to get the portable NES, I highly recommend, if you can, if you like classic games or you want to get into classic games, it's better than having to go to all the garage sales and collect the games. I used to have all the games. I know how hard that is, particularly nowadays. Just get this joint, particularly if you have like a small apartment, or again, if you're traveling, this works really well. And all you need to do is get you have the HDMI cord that comes in there. Most TVs have an HDMI cord, or you can go ahead and if it doesn't fit, you can go and buy an HDMI to AV cord, which will fit some of the older TVs. Just try it out before you get on the road and make sure that you have all the wires that you need. And the only upgrade I would recommend is getting some longer wires for the controllers. And again, that'll run you like 10, 15 bucks. I love this little thing. I'm actually going to play with it a little bit later on during my travel. I cannot wait, and do it in a grown man way. So probably, pour a little something, turn off the phone, and then maybe beat The Legend of Zelda for the umpteenth time. They have Legend of Zelda 1 and 2. I'm going to digress. That alone should make you want to get this joint if you're as hardcore as I am. That's one of my favorite things as far as with traveling. That actually helps more with my mental health. With physical health, this is one of my favorite things as well. And shout to my partner who actually found this, and I got into this, so thank you. It's Elemis Aching Muscle Super Soak. And, I don't work in a construction yard, I have some rough hands, but they're not that rough. So it's not like I have a laborious job in that regard. But I love taking baths. And this, you could take like a half a cup of it and you pour it into your bath, and it has little bath bubbles, but it also, you can feel it as far as that. And I'm going to tell you the truth too. Like, again, my kids are 8 and about to turn 11, and they love beating up their dad. Like, you don't have to call protective services, but it's like they're always fighting, either fighting each other or fighting me. And it's play fighting, but they're getting older now. And so even as far as wrestling with them or at the park and we're running, just a physical activity, that can put some wear and tear in your body. This is fantastic for baths. I would highly recommend it. It is on the expensive side, but you only need to use so much. I have it on I get it through Amazon. Shout out to Amazon. And I actually have it on my subscribe and save. Sorry, got a lot of shine going on here. Look, very, very bright over here. But I have subscribe and save, which I think currently that saves about 5 to 10% off the price. And I get it quarterly, and I take baths a few times a week, and it lasts a long time. Again, you don't need that much. It is medicinal, so you want to go ahead and check the ingredients. You're not going to be able to read on here, unfortunately. I'm happy to keep it up, but it's not going to help on the camera. But feel free to go to the Elemis website or click the link right here, and then they have all the details. If you have any type of allergies or stuff like that, it works very well for me. So I'm happy to share it with y'all and do that. That pretty much only works with baths. And so if you're traveling in a place where there's showers, not really going to help you. But if you're in a place where there's baths, not jacuzzis, but actual baths that you're actually able to sit down into, then that's a big part of it. And that leads to my next recommendation, which I just got into recently. It's been on my list for a long time. I'm going to move my coffee because it's going to get big. Shout out to Saigon Coffee. You know I love y'all over there. So this is I don't know how to pronounce this one. Uralin? I think it's Uralin. It's on my list for a while, but don't know how to pronounce it. The Uralin Premium Bath Tray Caddy. Bring it physical again. This is a bath tray caddy. It actually goes in half. Again, making it easy to travel with it. And then, there we go. And then it expands. I feel like I need to play some backgammon. Oh, it's on the other side. I was like, why isn't it saying still? Got it backwards. There we go. So this is the premium bathtub tray caddy. Hopefully you can still hear me. More importantly, that you can see me. And as you can probably guess, put this down so you can see my big head. As you can probably guess, it's a bathtub caddy. So while you're taking your bath, you go ahead and put this down. And I love having baths where it's just me being out into space or laying back and, putting my head under the water or just reflecting on the day. Sometimes I want to have a glass of wine or something stronger. Hey, there's a space for that. Sometimes I'm in the middle of watching one of my favorite programs. There's space for that too. And you can go and set yourself up. And it is waterproof. Oh, it smells so good. It's actually made out of real wood. Still very affordable though, but made out of real wood. And it's just a vibe. You also can lock it into place. I know it seems loose, but you can lock it into place so it'll be firm. Just, of course, be careful with it because you will have it over water. And I started using this a couple weeks ago. I'm a big fan of it. I'm definitely going to take it traveling with me. And it's, again, about twice the size of my head. And then it's actually a little bag that comes with it. I don't know if I'm going to use the bag or not. It's a sturdy bag, but I don't know if it's really my style. And the joint fits right in there. And that's it. The last thing I'll say on that part is that it also comes with these little trays that slide right in there. And I can show you guys in a moment if you care to see it. But they go in there at a slight angle. And if you're intuitive, this is about the size of the average tablet. This is about the size of the average phone. Maybe not the average phone at this point, because you guys got some massive phones. I like my baby phones. You guys, man, I got older relatives that have phones that are like the size of my head. I'm like, you might as well just walk around with a tablet. But average size phone would fit in the ear, or at least you can lean against it. So you can put it in like this, almost like an old school typewriter. You put it in like this, and then you can lean it right there, and then you're good to go. So if you're watching Bridgerton, shout out to my friends and loved ones who are into that right now. If you're watching Bridgerton, or if you're more like me and you're catching up on the Joe Budden podcast or Winover Productions, shout out to y'all over on YouTube. I'm loving the videos. Then you might be on the tablet or you might be on the phone, and that allows you to do that. I'm not big on working, like doing serious work while I'm doing a bath. Like this, the kind of, to me, that defeats the purpose. But if you have work you need to do, that could be the equivalent of you working by the pool where stuff needs to get done. You might as well be comfortable with it. So that's helping with the health. Two recommended, get out of my mouth today. I think I need more coffee. 2 recommendations as far as videos. Number 1 is Smart Holiday Travel, a live Q&A that I did a few months ago, where I gave a whole bunch of suggestions with travel, with more tools and stuff that would help you go through the holiday season. For a lot of us, because Memorial Day here in the States was, like 2-3 weeks ago? That's fairly recently. And so that in the United States, that's considered the beginning of the travel season. And then Labor Day, which is for us, is in September, usually beginning to middle of September, depending on the year. That marks the end of the travel season. And then, of course, there's the opposite of that picks up again around Thanksgiving here in the United States, which is around the 3rd Thursday of November. And then it ends around New Year's, which, of course, is January 1st. This gets into a lot of the other details that I was not able to get into with this, and also the best kind of tools as far as software that can actually help you while you're traveling too. So be sure and check that out if you want something a little bit deeper. And lastly, travel without leaving home. This was an important one for me because I wanted to give the tools that might help you if you couldn't leave. And this episode is closer to when we are sheltering in place. Also, there's a lot of people that I coach and a lot of people that I care about that have physical, mental, or emotional limitations where they're like, yeah, I can't leave the house. Right. And if you're in that group, it's like you still deserve to be able to travel. And so I give a whole bunch of tools, a whole bunch of software, even some websites that will allow you to expand and learn without having to get on a plane or a train or automobile. And so it's an important episode to me because I want to make sure that I gave love to all y'all who might not be able to head to a hotel or go on a spontaneous road trip, or it requires so much inordinate amount of travel or planning. I mean, that traveling doesn't seem realistic at the moment. So, if you're in that position, and I know some of y'all are, be sure and check out the episode. Again, really important episode, and as you can tell, it's really close to my heart. So hopefully it serves y'all well too.